Side of the little wise guy ships, I call them the wise guy ships, the little boats that they have running around with guns in them. And we'll take them out too when we see them. But their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is gone, all of their anti-aircraft machinery is gone. Maybe they loaded up a little bit during the 2-week hiatus, but we'll knock that out in about one day if they did. We've done an amazing job. Their leaders are gone. You know, their leaders are all gone. Part of the problem is that, that's why I can't really answer your question. They have all new leadership and they're fighting like cats and dogs for who's going to control. Because we've created a real mess for them, but they've created a mess for the world over the last 47 years. They've killed a lot of our people. When you see a soldier, a young person, or now an older person, but a person without legs or without arms or with a face that got blown to pieces, most likely
Air
it was
Comfort
from
Service,
Iran.
heating, cooling, and insulation.
Soleimani, who I killed. Soleimani loved the roadside bomb. He was an evil genius. He was a brilliant general. Probably we wouldn't be as far advanced had I not taken him out. That was the beginning of it all. And then I ended the Obama horror show. The nuclear transaction that he made was horror. It gave him a road to the, you call it, I mean, what the deal that he did, the Iran nuclear deal, was so bad. It gave him a road to a nuclear weapon. And I will tell you, I deal with him. You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. This is all about a nuclear weapon. They cannot have the nuclear bomb, and they're not going to have the nuclear bomb. So we've taken out their military. We've hit about 75% of our targets. We stopped a little early because they wanted to have some peace. And we have a blockade that's 100% effective. And they're getting no business. And as you know, they're not doing well economically, financially. They're not doing any business because of the blockade. They want to make a deal. We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil. They're in turmoil. So we thought we'd give them a little chance to get some of their turmoil resolved. But, you know, and I hope the fake news, people like you, I hope the fake news are going to be able to write about it accurately, because when you say, oh, they're fighting very well, they're not fighting well. They've been obliterated, Jeff, obliterated. 159 ships are in the Navy. You know how many ships are at the bottom of the sea, Jeff? 159. So, you know, and if you read the New York Times, the failing New York Times, subscriptions are way down, as you know. That's because people don't believe the stuff anymore. If you watch CNN, you'd think that they're doing well in the war. They're not doing well. They're getting absolutely decimated. Now, with all of that being said, we'll see what happens. They have a lot of, we have no pressure. It's only guys like you with a question like that about what's your time. We've been doing it for 5.5 weeks.
But sir,
Is your administration
it's been 8 weeks that the U.S. now has been involved with Iran. You had initially said it would be 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I hope that, but I also took a little break. I gave them a break. And remember this, I want to make the best deal. I could make a deal right now. Do you know that if I left right now, we had a tremendous success. It would take them 20 years to rebuild, but I don't want to do that. I want to have it everlasting. I want to have it where they never have a chance to get it. I mean, the way you asked that question, yeah, I did say it. I thought it would take 4 to 6 weeks, and I was right, because at the end of 6 weeks, at the end of 4 weeks, their military was decimated.
So are you saying?
But now what I'm doing, I can't tell you that. I don't want to put that kind of a timetable on it, but it'll go pretty quickly, and we'll have the strait opened up. Now, right now, we have it closed. We have total control of the strait. And the fact that it's closed, you know, they would have opened it up 3 days ago. They came to us and they said, we will agree to open the strait. And all my people were happy. Everybody was happy except me. I said, wait a minute, if we open the strait, that means they're going to make $500 million a day. I don't want them to make $500 million a day until they settle this thing. So I'm the one that kept it closed. We have total control of it. And it'll open when they make a deal or something else happens that's very positive.
But what do you say to the American public? Excuse me. What do you say to the American people who question how much longer this will take? Obviously, you know that they are having.
You're such a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
I understand, sir. But
how many years
past
was
your
Vietnam?
6-week deadline, so
well, I
I'm
did my
wondering-
I took the country out militarily in the first 4 weeks. I took it out militarily. Now all we're doing is sitting back and seeing what deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, then I'll finish it up militarily with the other 25% of the targets. We've hit 78% of the targets that we've wanted to hit. We've knocked out their manufacturing. We've knocked out their missile production. We've knocked out their drone production. We've knocked out everything. In some cases, when I say knocked it out, 70, 80, 90%. It's amazing what we've done. So I've done that within that period of time that I mentioned, but I don't want to rush myself, because every story says, oh, Trump is under time pressure. I'm not, no. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. You know what that means? Because they have no place to store it. And because they have no place to store it, if they have to stop it, something happens that only Len can explain. Something happens underground that essentially renders it in very poor shape, and you never recover fully. You can recover 50, 60%, but you can never have it like it is right now. And they have a matter of days before that event takes place. So I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. We've never had so much ammunition. Our ships are loaded. I call them locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go. We have much higher quality equipment than we did when we first started the war, and or the military operation, whatever you want to call it. And they're coming to us. The problem they have is they are very disorganized right now. Well, now yesterday, and I was very pleased with this, 8 young women were going to be executed yesterday afternoon at 6 o'clock. And I asked them, call it a favor or call it just a moral request that they not be executed. And they came back with an answer that they won't be executed. They're going to release, it was protesting. 8 beautiful young women, very young women. And their pictures in the paper. And it's been a story for a little while. And I saw that and I said, let's see if we can save them. And it was very nice what happened. So they're not going to be, what they're doing is, as you know, they're releasing 4 of them very shortly, and they're going to keep 4 of them in jail for a period of 1 month and release them, so they won't be executed. Yeah,
so if you're it's a live event at the White House. President Trump taking questions on a variety of topics in the aftermath of a news event that he had about 45 minutes ago.
Ready for more time.
If you need more time, does that mean Americans should anticipate spending more on gasoline for the foreseeable future?
For a little while. And you know what they get for that? You know what they get for that? Iran without a nuclear weapon that's going to try and blow up one of our cities or blow up the entire Middle East. You want to see what shock would be? And I have to be honest, the stock market is at an all-time high right now.
Right.
I thought it would have been down 20, 25%. When we hit, wait a minute, wait, can I finish my question? Wise guy. Stock market's at an all-time high right now. I projected, and I'm pretty good at this, that the stock market, Howard, would drop maybe 20%, 25%. And I understood that. And I said, hey, it's a bad thing, but I have to do what's right for the country, even the world. Because you can't have them, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. So the stock market, unlike what a lot of people were predicting, I thought they weren't necessarily wrong. And the stock market today hit an all-time high. Hit an all-time high yesterday, the day before. And it's staying there. I thought oil would go up to maybe $200 a barrel. And oil is a different number than anyone thought. In fact, this country is much lower because we have all the oil we can use. We're actually, ships are coming from all over the world to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska. They're coming from all over the world to get oil from the United States, while this is closed, the Hormuz Strait. So if you look at what I said, I guess it was right, because I said I'd have it 4 to 6 weeks, and in 4 weeks we have totally defeated their military. So right now I don't want to rush it because you guys are, trying to make us look as bad as possible. I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal. I want to get a deal where our nation and the world is safe from lunatics with nuclear weapons. Yes.
If it does go to 200, are you okay with that, sir? If oil goes to 200.
I think that there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that takes out one of your cities or 2 of your cities or 3. I think there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that's going to destroy the Middle East, including Israel. I think there's nothing worse than Europe being under attack by people that have missiles now that reach Europe. As you know, they don't reach us, but they reach Europe. But they will reach us at some time, probably the not too distant future, unless we stop them now. I think there would be nothing worse than having nuclear holocaust in Europe, London, Paris, various places in Germany, all targeted. No, what I say is you can't let them have. I don't think it will happen, by the way. I really think we actually, it turns out that we are drill, baby, drill. And it turns out we're producing a lot of oil, and they're buying the oil. They're going to Alaska, they're going to Texas, Louisiana, and our guys have done a fantastic job. We're putting out right now more oil and gas than we ever have in the history of our country. And one other thing, there are more people employed today in the United States than ever in the history of our country.
Mr. President, I have a question, sir. Is it true that your administration is considering sending 1,100 Afghans to the Democratic Republic of Congo? And if so, do you have a response to launch?
I don't know. I'd have to check that.
Do you plan to
Please, don't be
Thank you, Mr. President. Breitbart News' Matt Boyle just published an interview with Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis, in which the Prime Minister said that he's rooting for you to succeed in getting a deal with Iran. And he also said he looks forward to hosting you in Greece later this year. Do you have any response?
No, it's really nice. I mean, Greece has been very supportive, actually. Greece has been terrific. He's a terrific guy because he understands the importance of it. You know, oil goes up a little bit. I hate it. You know, I was the one that had it down to $60 a barrel. And I looked at guys like Howard Lutnick. Howard, you remember it well. I said, well, we just hit an all-time high in the history of the market. Think of this. When we hit 50,000, I was told, everybody was told, when I won the election, November 5th, they said, well, during the 4-year period, it'll be impossible for the Dow to ever reach 50,000. It'll be impossible for the S&P to ever hit 7,000. Impossible. And you remember that, Howard, right? It was going to hit maybe 6, 7 years, 8 years, but I did it in my first year, hit 50,000. Now it's just about at 50,000, and S&P is higher than it was when we started. And S&P hit over 7,000, and that was before the year ended up 1 year. So I can only tell you this, it'll end. I don't think it'll be very long, by the way. They're delaying it because we don't know who to deal with. They are in, you know, they know who the leader is in this country. We don't know who the leader is in Iran. Because remember, regime change. Khomeini is gone. He's gone to greener pastures. He's gone, and all of his team is gone. Then a second group came in, they're all gone. And now you have the third group, and they're a little concerned about being gone too.
Sir, would you use a nuclear weapon against Iran? You posted on Truth Social
a few
weeks ago.
We don't need
That's
it.
not
Why do I
what
need it? Why would a stupid question like that be asked?
You posted
Why would I use a nuclear weapon when we've totally, in a very conventional way, decimated them without it? No, I wouldn't use it. A nuclear weapon should never be allowed to be used by anybody.
So have you planned Iran given a timeline of when they could give you a proposal?
We're all very much looking forward to. Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war.
That seems like a good place to go out, Fred, I think, on the Prince Harry question, right? We're starting to get into the weeds there, but those were some good answers. Look, I've made my position pretty clear on this. I don't think that the questions that the president was being asked were unfair questions, given the timeline that the White House gave us. So he did give some answers here this afternoon. We're going to talk about it a little bit. We got Jason Smith, who is, of course, the 8th District Congressman from Missouri, who's the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. He's coming up here in a couple of minutes. We have State Senator Nick Schroer with an update on Jeff City. The budget passed last night. Nick has an anti-Sharia law bill, and also, Fred, as we know, the income tax plan passed the House. We're going to talk about that this afternoon,
right.
Actually from a couple of different perspectives. We'll have not only Nick on, but at 4:30, Aaron Hedlund, who is a member of the White House President's Council on Economic Advisors. All that coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we got 270 southbound slow spots before 70 to Doherty Ferry, 170 southbound out up to 64 on the brakes northbound from 70 to Airport Road, 70 westbound building from 8 to 64, eastbound slow approaching 64. Now 64 is starting to build a bit westbound Kings Highway to Big Bend, Lindbergh at 270, 364 to Wentzville, and then we've got eastbound side solid past 141 to 170 with a crash taking out all lanes. We're forced down to 270 there, and 44 westbound slow spots from before 270 to 141, eastbound from Jefferson kind of heavy onto the Poplar Street Bridge. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, from windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Trent Erickson at 317 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, Sue's off for a couple of days. She'll be back next Wednesday, actually, and Trent's going to fill in today. We got Jason Smith, Congressman Smith, on deck next.
Hey, it's Annie, and I'm here with my friend Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. Stewie, if there's one thing I know, it's that people are looking for cash right now. And the mortgage being the biggest bill that most people have, is it the right time to refinance or even just restructure their current mortgage?
You know what, Annie? My wife came over to me yesterday and said, you know what, honey? I love you, and your love gives me thrills, but unfortunately, it don't pay my bills. So here's what we're going to do. Do the bagel loan. If you financed your house over the last 3 years, rates are lower today than they've been over that period of time. Call me. We can refinance, save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month. Now, many people out there think they have a low rate, but maybe you're paying the PMI or maybe you have an FHA loan. You have to look at the total picture, and that's the mistake people make. They say, hey, I'm in a great position. I can't do better. Wrong. 9 out of 10 people that call us with the same conversation, hey, I'm just calling you just to see. We end up refinancing them and saving them lots of money.
Call Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage, and remember the bagel loan, no closing costs. 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Summer is on the way, or should I say the heat in St. Louis, it's on its way. Be here before we even know it. If you haven't had your air conditioners checked and set up and ready to go for this cooling season, or if you were told you might need a new one, or you just think this is the time of the year, this year is the time to just go ahead and replace it. Prices are down, 0% financing is available. It's still the best time to call me. Don't put it off. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. It is 314-293-2600. Again, that's 314-293-2600 in Missouri and Illinois, or on the internet, bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Well, we will be sure to snag. I think Trump actually just wrapped up the Q&A. If anything happened here in the last couple of minutes, we'll certainly get that to you. You have Dick Schroer, state senator, coming up at the bottom of the hour. The Senate passed big budget plan last night as the legislature is coming to a close. We'll get with him and talk about the income tax plan as well. Right now, Congressman Jason Smith, he is the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. He represents the 8th District in Missouri. Congressman, how are you this afternoon? It's been a little bit since we've caught up.
Doing well, Mark. It's great to be with you.
Let me start on Iran, just because the president was peppered with some questions here just a short time ago on the war, saying that he's achieved a lot of the goals, the military goals, but saying obviously the nuclear capability and making sure that that's not possible moving forward is very important. I think I would agree with that, but we are getting a little bit away from the timetable here, and some of the questions focused on how long this might be going on, and of course, gas prices. I'm sure that there are people in your district that are getting hit by these things. So what would the message be right now on Iran?
You know, I believe the president when he says this is not going to last long. What has happened in the days that we've been in this military conflict right now has been remarkable, with what the military has been able to accomplish and basically stop the world's largest nation of terrorism from getting a nuclear weapon. But hopefully this will be over soon. The president continues to say that this is a very short-term excursion and that it's going to be over with. But gas prices, yeah, you travel anywhere across Missouri, and we don't like those higher gas prices. But, Mark, they're still lower than they ever were in the Biden administration. So that's what I had these D.C. political reporters asking me questions this week. What do you think about the high gas prices? Well, they're still less than when Biden was president. And it's so interesting. They didn't bother to report then.
And I get that, but what I would say is, and this is where I have some concern moving forward, is that when you say you're not going to get into foreign wars that are unnecessary, he says this is necessary, and I get that because of Iran. When you say you're going to lower prices, and now we're into a period where prices are spiking, and it's not just the gas prices. Inflation is going to be, higher because of the gas prices and because of diesel prices. So I don't think it's an unfair question to say, wait a second, what's going on here? Now, if the timetable accelerates, we get things taken care of, and somehow we get this enriched uranium, I don't get how we're going to get that deep in these mountains. But he seemed to indicate a half an hour ago that even if we don't get all of that, we've set them back far enough. But you understand, I don't think the questions are unfair, and I think the president thinks that these questions are unfair when you're kind of answering them like Joe Biden did about inflation and not recognizing what real people are experiencing right now.
I absolutely think the questions are fair and appropriate to be asked. What I was referring to is why were these reporters not asking about the gas prices in the last administration? And I was just saying the inconsistency. We don't want high gas prices, and the president doesn't either. It does not help anyone. We don't want wars. I don't want wars. And the end of the Iran conflict cannot come soon enough for Jason Smith. And so I'm believing the president that this is a short-term excursion and hopefully will be done very soon, and other things will be lined out. But in regards to the gas prices, they will be coming down. Last Friday, they went down $12 a barrel. So that was helpful. But we need to go down a lot more.
So, and I get the questions about the media, completely fair. Let's talk about something more positive. You'll love this story. I don't think I shared this with you. I get a call from a friend of mine, good friend of mine in Las Vegas that I see all the time. He makes a fair amount of money, right? He's not a conservative Republican, but he's not a wacko liberal either, Jason. But he calls me a few weeks ago, goes, I haven't been a big Trump fan, but I am all in now, baby. I'm all in. I'm like, what happened? He goes, I did my taxes. And he loved the result of the big, beautiful bill, Jason Smith.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that's exactly why we did what we did. When you look at the filers as of April 15th, 7 million Americans utilized the no tax on tips deduction. 28 million Americans used the no tax on overtime deduction. More than 105 million Americans benefited from the doubling of the standard deduction. This was real tax relief. I had a waitress in my district, Mark, come up to me a few weeks ago and said, hey, Congressman, I filed my taxes and my refund was over $10,000. This was a waitress who works overtime, single mom with 3 kids. And because of the expanded child tax credit, the no tax on tips, and the no tax on overtime, she said that her refund will allow her to be able to afford her rent for a year plus some of her groceries.
Yeah.
That is life-changing.
It's amazing.
For people.
And that's the kind of thing that should be reported. And what pisses me off about that is, and you know this better than anyone else, and it was just hidden from the American people during the presidential campaign, if Kamala's in there, everyone's taxes, that waitress and everyone else goes up. But no one ever wanted to talk about that.
That's exactly the case. What they campaigned on, Mark, is that they wanted everyone's taxes to go up.
They did.
21% on average. They campaigned on it. They didn't keep it a secret. And so could you imagine with what people have been struggling with the inflation crisis that has basically gone up more than 20% since Joe Biden was in office, and added another 21% increase of your tax liability? That's
shame on the
last thing that
Democrats.
people
Yeah.
need.
And by the way, that takes a little bit of the criticism from the Democrats on gas prices away as well, in my opinion, because look, economically, their constituents would be worse off if you had a Democrat and you guys didn't pass that bill. One of the things that happened when President Trump took office is we heard from the other side, waste, fraud, and abuse, Jason. There's no such thing, right? Well, we've been exposed. These stories have now been exposed in Minnesota with a lot of, fraud up there. In California, this hospice fraud is off the charts nuts. I know you had a hearing this week highlighting $60 billion in Medicare fraud, right?
That's exactly right. We had a committee hearing just on Medicare fraud. Well, there's a lot of fraud in all areas of government. What we focused on was Medicare. And it is estimated that there's $60 billion of Medicare fraud that's a result of fraudsters every year. And we dive into the hospice situation in Los Angeles County. The Trump administration and Dr. Oz has closed down 450 different hospice centers there in California. They closed down a hospice center that was a burrito stand. They closed down a hospice center that was a tire shop. I mean, these people were frauding the government. It was absolutely crazy. I had a witness before my committee this week from California that she went in to try to get physical therapy, was denied physical therapy with her Medicare because they said that she had been on hospice for 2 years.
Oh my God.
And so someone illegally enrolled her on hospice, was collecting the money, but she was denied health care because
Oh man.
she was on hospice. And so they had to prove that she was never on hospice. And it took over a year for her to get the care that she needed because of someone fraudulently enrolling her into hospice.
Yeah, and I
And
can't.
then you look at.
I can't believe
you
I'm
look at
laughing about that because it's not funny. That's a disaster.
It's so terrible. You look at the state of New York, those in-home health employees are the number one new job in the state of New York. The fraudulent in-home employees, which a lot of times will be like someone who's, like they're not helping anyone. They're just grabbing a check, and it's just crazy.
Yeah,
and you look at the fake daycare centers in Minnesota or the durable medical equipment, even in Miami. We've highlighted a lot of bad areas that we can clean up.
Yeah, and we know that that's just scratching the surface. If this is the stuff that's being exposed, it goes much deeper than that. Let me highlight this before I let you go. I saw the First Lady on earlier. She was talking about something about fostering the future.
Fostering the Future has expanded coast to coast. Fostering the Future University scholarships programs are available for individuals aging out of foster care. Please join me in advancing the Be Best Fostering the Future initiative nationwide.
Jason, is that something you're working with the First Lady on? I know that you sent some information out about that.
It absolutely is. I had the First Lady to my committee last week, and she does not do that. I'm blessed to call her a friend.
That's
and
awesome.
The fact that we're partnering together on foster youth, and especially focusing on foster children who are aging out of the system so they're just not left with a handbag and say, hey, good luck with your life, but actually helping give them a step up. And we're going to be moving some legislation in the next week, getting that on the House floor, delivering it. The First Lady was phenomenal when she was there. We also had some foster youth there. And even my Democrat counterparts, Mark, were very receptive to the First Lady, and they are all on board in making these changes.
Well, they should be. It should be not a partisan issue for sure, and that's great that you're doing that. Congressman Jason Smith, thank you for the time this afternoon, Jason. I appreciate it as always.
Of course, Mark. Good
okay,
talking
yeah,
with you.
take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got 270. Your southbound side is slow spots from before 70 to Doherty Ferry, 170 southbound, Del Mar to 64 on the brakes, northbound, heavy from 70 to Airport Road. That's filling in quite a bit. Westbound side of 70, slow first Capitol to Zumble, then through O'Fallon and A to 64. Eastbound side slow from or at 370. We've got a crash working there, nothing major, but it's a slowdown. Westbound side of 64, Kings Highway to Big Bend, slow Lindbergh to 270, 364 to Wentzville, and eastbound side solid before 141 to 170. Still have that crash blocking all lanes, forced on traffic, forced on to 270 either direction. 44 westbound slow before 270 and eastbound from Jefferson onto the Poplar Street Bridge. This report is sponsored by Barron Mirror and Glass and Door. Barron Mirror, Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to mirror, glass, and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror, Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror, Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Trent Erickson at 3:30 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Thank you, Trent. We have Thomas Helbig's going to drop by here in a few minutes, but let me tell you about what we're going to talk about because we have another in the series of worry-free retirement events. We do these seminars 5 times a year. Number 2 is on deck for this Tuesday. So it's this coming up April 20th, 6:30 p.m. at the Doubletree Hilton out in Chesterfield. We've just moved these a few miles west. Used to do them at Plaza Frontenac. There's a big, beautiful room at that Doubletree off of Swingley Road. All you have to do is register. And, you heard the president talk about the markets and and the market's high, well, maybe you've had a lot of gains from the market recently in the last couple of years. How do you lock in those gains and make sure you can maintain enough money to live on through retirement? That's what this is all about. You can always go in one-on-one, sit with the team. Thomas will tell you that here in a few minutes when he joins us. But we do have an opportunity, free, because we don't charge you anything. We just need to know that you're coming on Tuesday night. So save a seat by calling 314-993-9494 or online at retirementkey.com for the official financial planners of this show. Thomas Helbig in the Retirement Advisory Group.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. From the gateway to the airwaves, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We'll have a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow in the 3 o'clock hour. Former State Senator Jeff Smith will be here. The mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower. All the fun stuff in the 4 o'clock hour. Sue's News without Sue, because Ethan's going to do that today as well. Paul Hall on entertainment. And the Michael Jackson movie comes out, and he has seen that. He'll report back tomorrow afternoon. We'll have Cusimano taking us into the weekend. Aaron Perlett will be with us. He is a local marketing genius. We'll call Aaron a genius. He's written a book about compromising in this age, and he's a friend. He's been on the show before. I told Aaron that we likely will not agree on everything, but that's okay. I think we'll have a good conversation. Then Kevin Abing is going to be here. The Cardinals won the World Series in 1926, 100 years ago, and Kevin wrote a book about it called Baseball Magic and Mayhem in St. Louis, so that's all coming up tomorrow. State Senator Nick Schroer is with us this afternoon after what I believe was a late night in Jeff City. Is that true? Did it go a little late last night?
Yeah, with I think only 3 weeks left now after this week is wrapped up. We've had several long nights, but look, it's really good because we're sending things to the governor, sending things to the voters, and this is the first when it comes to the budget that Republicans, the majority of them, were voting for it because we had historic spending cuts.
Yeah, and, you know, the spending cuts are important. I know a lot of the Democrats, Nick, they never want to talk about spending cuts, but I was just looking at some information this morning. I know that you're usually privy to this stuff, but when you look at some of the revenue numbers for the state, and, you know, we had a big budget surplus, but we're blowing through that because the revenue numbers are down a little bit. We have inflation. There's a lot of different factors, but the only way to do this is to stop spending and roll it back, and that seemingly, we know it never happens on the federal level, but that's a great thing that it's happening here in Missouri in the state level.
Yeah, and Mark, over the last 10 years, I got elected in 2016, took the oath of office in 2017, and what I thought was a massive budget back then, I wish we could even go back to, because the budget has grown over 102% in just 10 years, and it's unsustainable. Scott Fitzpatrick, the auditor, has messaged everybody saying this is unsustainable. We're going to have to cut massively. All of that federal dollars during COVID has dried up, and unfortunately, we had budget chairs that were teaming with Democrats continuing to spend like bandits. And huge kudos to Senate leadership, Rusty Black, the new appropriations chair, working with the Freedom Caucus to get us on board, get our conservative coalition on board. Historically, we vote no on all the budget. I mean, there have been years, whether it was Bill Eigel, Bob Ond, or Eric Burleson, going to the Senate floor trying to amend it just to send money back to the voters. And that would always go on deaf ears. Well, this is the year, this is the first where $4.1+ billion when you compare it to last year's budget and supplemental we're spending less than that. And that is, for me, turning the car around, getting us in the right direction. If we're going to do these tax cuts right, which was approved this week, the resolution to go to the voters, if we're going to do it right, it's got to be in combination with massive spending cuts.
So what is the next step then here for the budget?
Well, so it goes to conference, and I know for all those listening, they're like, well, what the hell does that mean? What is conference? Well, when the House passes something that the Senate passes a little bit different version of, the House can say, okay, well, we'll take that and send it to the governor. But 9 times out of 10, when it comes to the budget, they're going to go to conference. Members of each party on each budget bill, they'll go into a meeting, they'll go over it with a fine-tooth comb and figure out, okay, we like your version better. Let's come to the middle, come to a compromise. But this is a weird one because the Senate spent less than the House did, which spent way less than the governor had called for. So, I think there's going to be a little bit of conference, but I think most of the meeting of the minds between the House and the Senate was done over the past several weeks. It should be approved by the House and the Senate, hopefully next week or the week after.
Yeah, well, usually these things go down to the final minute, but it sounds like the timetable is accelerated just a little bit at this point. You referenced the ballot measure, so let's talk about that. We've been talking about it for a long time. Obviously something that Governor Houck campaigned on. You have been a big fan of this as well, so now the voters of Missouri will have a chance to decide whether or not they want to phase out the state's income tax.
Yeah, and I know you were talking about compromise with one of your next guests coming up. There was a compromise deal. Instead of using the previous question and shutting down debate, which we could have done, and part of me says, yeah, maybe we should have, because the language that came out of the budget committee, or not the budget committee, the Senator Ben Brown's committee, it included some things that ended up getting pulled out, which I think would have made this stronger. But it's not the end of the story because now the onus will be back on us. So if voters approve this, it's going to be in the Constitution to get rid of the income tax. But now those spending measures, and for everybody who's out there who's like, well, I thought we had measures in place from about 8 years ago when we cut the income tax. Yeah, we did, but that's statutory and it's got a floor. So it's tied to revenue growth. The more revenue that comes into the state of Missouri, the faster we get to zero. So over the next 5 years, and one of the reasons I'm running for leadership, which I announced last week, I'm running for floor leader in the Missouri Senate, is that we got to get this thing done right. You got a lot of people who are kicking and screaming that this could result in a massive amount of consumption taxes, massive amount of sales taxes. And for your elderly who are on fixed incomes or no income at all, they're saying, well, wait a second. Life's going to be a heck of a lot more expensive for me. And that's not necessarily going to be the case as long as we have strong conservative leadership that ties it to cutting spending, looking at a lot of these areas where big business is getting tax credits right now, and all of the different loopholes within the sales tax realm that are currently in statute.
So, look, dude, I want this to pass. I really do. I want us to move forward.
Yeah.
I think it's bold. I've wanted this for a while. I wish we can get rid of the, the earnings tax here in St. Louis. Rex Singfield has been funding efforts, for a while to do both. But when I reached out and I just did a little, took the temperature of both Republicans and Democrats, this is anecdotal, Nick, yesterday, some folks that would, people consultants, stuff like that, they all told me they think this is going to fail because of the money that's going to come in against it. Now, obviously, we're not going to know until whenever this gets out, and it could be on an August ballot too. It could be November or August. But then what would your gut be on that? Because to me, and to a lot of people, it would be, well, conventional wisdom is you see a ballot measure that says, do you want to get rid of your income tax? Yes, I do. But there's going to be a lot of campaigning here from groups that feel that this is unfair, that, it taxes people under the poverty line more, et cetera. So what do you do about that?
Well, this is going to be a key point. And you said it. When is it going to go on the ballot? Because there are several things that the governor has in his back pocket that he gets to place on ballots. You've got the Amendment 3 fix, stopping transgender surgeries for minors, the initiative petition reform that we've been fighting for a long time, and there's still several others, including the tax relief resolution that was just sent to the voters. So if there's 4 or 5 things that are on there that the Democrats and their affiliate groups really hate, now they've got to spread that big bank. And look, millions upon millions of dollars are coming in from out-of-state billionaires, out-of-state lunatic lefties that want to change our Constitution without ever stepping foot in here. They couldn't even name where Defiance, Missouri or Boone County is on a map. So those are the things that we're going to have to be fighting against. Now, there are a couple other things, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the REINS Act, and several other bills that we could still approve in the next 3 weeks. But I would say, look, it heavily depends upon when it's getting put on the ballot and how hard Republicans are going to fight and educate their voters, combating all of the fake news, because we're already being told by the Democrats that by voting yes on this, it's automatically going to increase your taxes. And that's just not the truth.
Well, by the way, there are Republicans saying that too. It's not just Democrats. And I think you know
Well, I call them trans Republicans. That they're truly Democrats that identify as Republicans.
I like that. I do. I like that. So the Nick Schroer that I know was a big fan of changing the Missouri congressional districts, which apparently have been upheld by the court. Now, Virginia did something this week. They sent this to the voters, and they dramatically changed their map. I was kind of against both because I don't like doing this mid-decade. But how is Missouri, and there is a difference, different than Virginia, would you say?
Oh, if you just look at the maps, it tells you all you need to know. They took Northern Virginia and spaghetti strung it like the Illinois maps, where you've got one heavy population zone, and then you stretch it across the entire state to get to a more rural area or more Republican area. Whereas Missouri, we actually went from a map that cut counties in half. That cut St. Charles County, the fastest growing county in the state of Missouri, the biggest red county. They cut Boone County in half. They cut a lot of counties in half just to appease the Democrats so they didn't filibuster and try to kill the redistricting previously. And I was the one back in 2022 that said, no, keep these compact, keep them contiguous. There is a way to do this, which results in a more conservative map, a 7-1 map, but it keeps all of these communities compact and contiguous. And that's the map that we passed at the voter, or that the court has recently upheld. Now, what you're seeing in Virginia, they bent the rules. I know that there was a calendar reporting requirement that had to be done that the former attorney general out there has said that was violated. So I think that they're going to have a hard time upholding this. But
Boy,
now
I would hope that the courts, I mean, that thing, even the ballot language was so ridiculously biased. Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. Hey, one more question, though. I want you to see, I know you're busy down there in Jeff City. Is there any chance you think you can come up next Friday? Maybe you can do the roundtable, and then you and I will both join Cori Bush and Hassan Piker to demand livable wages, abolishing ICE, and guaranteeing education, housing, and health care, because that's what they're doing next week. Are you in? Are you with me?
Hey, as long as we're not still in session, which these last couple of weeks, any Friday could pop off and we could remain in there. But I'm actually in Boston today. I got inducted. I got inducted. I'm going to be meeting Congressman Onder, Congressman Burleson, because they were previously inducted to this. It's the Club for Growth Fellowship. I'm the only legislator from the state of Missouri that was chosen to come down here. It's a conservative think tank that picks the best of the best, and I'm still scratching my head how I got this thing. But I'm down here, and we're going to have Aaron Hedlund from the formerly from the Show Me Institute, now with the Trump administration, Congressman Onder, Congressman Burleson. It's going to be making Missouri great again in Boston.
Well, you're not going to have Aaron Hedlund at 4:30 Central because he's going to be on here with me talking about some of these same issues, just so you know. But have fun out there in Boston. Nick Schroer, we'll talk soon. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, take care, Nick.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, some delays on 270 southbound. Spots that go from 70 to Big Bend, northbound side from Manchester to Clayton. 170 southbound Delmar down to 64, getting heavy northbound from 70 to Airport Road. 70 westbound, slow going First Capital over to Zumble and then through O'Fallon, to 64. 64 on the westbound side fills in quite a bit from Kings Highway to Big Bend, Lindbergh at 273, 64 to Wentzville. And then eastbound is pretty jammed still from 141 to 270, but at least we've got a couple of lanes open. Just the right lane is down with this crash where all lanes were earlier. This report is sponsored by Baron Mirror Glass and Door. Baron Mirror Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to mirror, glass, and shower doors. You can't find any better quality, prices, or service than at Baron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Baron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. And Tread Erickson at 344 and 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
You know, it really has become certainly one of my favorite segments of the week. That's George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet when he joins us on Tuesdays at 5:30. We call it Tech Talk Tuesdays. And his company has been helping St. Louis's businesses navigate technology for 2.5 decades here, focusing on security strategy and keeping companies productive. He joins us on Tuesdays to kind of dazzle us with some of the tech stories, and usually scares the heck out of me with AI stories as well. But for you as a business owner, you need to know that it's not just big companies that get data threats and cyber threats. It happens here in St. Louis to small, mid-sized companies. What ThrottleNet does is prevent those attacks. And most businesses don't even know where they stand, which is kind of scary when you think about it. Are you secure? Are you one mistake away from a breach? We have a very simple way for you to find that out. ThrottleNet offers you a free baseline IT security audit. It gives you a very clear starting point. It's a very practical way to understand your real-world risk without guesswork. I mean, if you don't know your baseline, you don't know how to improve your cybersecurity. ThrottleNet can help you. And by the way, they're your IT everything. They don't just fix problems. They provide full IT strategy, security, and IT support so you can focus on what your business does best. ThrottleNet.com/971 for your free baseline IT security audit. ThrottleNet.com/971.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Next Tuesday, Doubletree Hilton in Chesterfield. We're going to get together from the team from the Retirement Advisor Group. Thomas Helbig is here with us in studio. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We knocked one of these out a couple of months ago. Here we are again. It's always amazing to me how quickly the year goes by,
Yes,
right? We do 5 of these a year. The only change, I think, from previous years that we should mention is that we are a little further west, right at the Doubletree, not at Plaza Frontenac.
It's at the Doubletree, but it's a bigger, beautiful menu. There's plenty of parking out front. They have the best homemade chocolate chip cookies they make every day. That we're going to have, so everybody can have those. They're wonderful. But folks, if you're out there and you're nearing retirement or already retired and you're wondering how to turn your 401k and IRA into a worry-free retirement, you don't want to miss this event. Seats are filling up fast. We've been teaching this strategy to our clients for the past 40 years. They never worry about running out of money. They never worry about losing their money in a bad downturn of the markets. So sign up for this event. We're going to also address, if you're wondering, can I afford to retire right now? Because a lot of husbands and wives, they don't know, can we afford to retire?
Right.
How much income am I going to get in retirement? We're going to be able to run you, when you come to this event, your own personalized retirement income plan, which is going to show you 2 things. Number 1, it's going to show you how much income you're going to have coming in retirement with your Social Security, with your pensions, or any investments you have. Number 2, it's going to show you how long that money lasts. But more importantly, you're going to know, can we afford to retire now, or do we need to wait another year? It's going to be your own written retirement plan. And third but not least, a lot of people don't know when to file for Social Security. We have become registered Social Security analysis now that we're going to be able to get you. If you come to this event, it will show you how to optimize all the Social Security benefits.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Whether you retire 62, 67, or 70, based on your situation. And that's another thing we're going to do for you if you come to this event.
So I'm curious about that because I have a friend of mine. I just turned 61. I have a friend who just turned 62. He's wealthy. He doesn't really need Social Security, but he's tapping into it now. He wants to get it because he's like, I paid into it. But there's a big benefit. I think I would have to wait till 67 to get the full benefits.
Full retirement.
But you kind of, in theory, you do want to wait, right?
Well, not always.
Maybe not always. Okay.
And here's why. There's two things you want to figure out. What your life expectancy is based on what your health is, because it takes sometimes to the age of 82 to 84 just to break even if you waited that long. So
that's
you could have taken it at 62 or earlier, even though you're getting less, you've got all those years you're collecting, and you don't even know if you're going to live that long. So that's why we'll run this report for you, and you'll be able to know based on your situation what's best for you, and you'll be able to make that decision. So folks, go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com to sign up for this event. Go ahead,
Is there a way that you can get, I'm just very curious, especially the period before the pandemic. So if you go before the pandemic and you think about some of the clients you advise and then you think about the last 4 years, are you finding more people who, when you do the analysis, there's like panic zone because they don't know that they're behind or not?
No, they're enlightened. They're like, I'm so glad I get to see this. This makes sense for us in our situation to start it right now.
Right.
Because we don't know if we're going to live to 84 to break even. And so on. So a lot of them start now. A lot of them say, you know what? I'm at 63. I think I'm going to wait to 65. Here's what the benefit is going to be. We'll take that. But some people, even though they don't need the money, they're like, you know what? I'm going to wait till I collect the most of it.
Right.
But again, you have to live a certain amount of years in order to break even, whereas if you could have started earlier. But this report will show you.
Yeah, it's going to help people a lot.
And that's going to help people out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So folks, go to 314-993-9494. That's 314-993-9494 or retirementkey.com. Sign up for this event. The seats are filling up fast for this event.
It's a free event. It's not a long commitment or anything like that. Mark and Annie and I will be out there. We do a little meeting and greeting, and then we introduce you and the team, and it's awesome. We also point out if you're more comfortable, some people like the group setting, but if you want to go one-on-one, you can do that too.
You come in for a free retirement review. We don't charge for these appointments whatsoever, and you get your own everything, your report, and all that stuff. So sign up for this event. The seats are filling up fast.
We'll see you next Tuesday, Thomas.
At the Doubletree at 6:30 p.m. on the 28th of April.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
That is Thomas Helbig from the Retirement Advisory Group, and we really would love to see you next Tuesday night in Chesterfield. We're going to wrap up this hour here. Sue's off today, if you haven't noticed. Trent's filling in. She's taking a few days off. We'll be back next Wednesday in the next hour. Look, I have a customer service story to share at the top of the hour that will no doubt be very relatable to listeners because this is where we are with a low level of customer service in this country. So I want to talk about that just a little bit. The NFL draft is tonight. This Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini story kind of took a different, leap into the media stratosphere today. I don't know if you're on top of this. Diana Rossini was the one reporter from... who did she work for? Ethan's going to yell at me because I don't remember this. But she was let go from The Athletic. That's right. She was with The Athletic. Was let go from her position as an NFL reporter when these pictures surfaced from kind of a junket type thing where they were hanging out together with coaches. Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Patriots, was seen in pictures with her that looked somewhat suspicious. So The Athletic decides to do an investigation. She quits. And then a few days ago, Mike Vrabel, the coach of the Patriots, says, I'm dealing with some important issues in my family. I'm going into some counseling. But today, another blockbuster story about that kind of came out. So we'll cover that in the next hour as well. And Ethan will handle Sue's news for today and for tomorrow. It's all coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
So westbound on 64, you're starting to fill in from Kings Highway to Big Bend, Lindbergh to 270, then 364 over into 70. Eastbound side, pretty heavy yet from 141 over to 270, but this crash that was taking out all lanes just in the right lane now. Then you've got 170 on the southbound, Del Mar to 64, heavy northbound from 70 to Airport Road, 70 westbound, First Capital over to Zumble, slow, and then through O'Fallon, and 270 southbound, slow spots from before 70 down to Big Bend, and northbound from Manchester up to Clayton. I'm Trent Erickson at 355 on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
There are many reasons to hire Morgan & Morgan for your injury case. Here's reason 17. In today's new world, many law firms have had money injected into their firms by Wall Street, private equity, and other lenders. This money usually comes in at very, very high interest rates. It's one of the reasons you see so many lawyers advertising. I'm John Morgan. This money is expensive and the interest compounds quickly. These law firms can have a huge need for cash just to pay that debt. Why does it matter to you? My fear is your case is settled early and for far less than it's worth, just to service the loan that has mafia-like rates. Our financial strength is your advantage. That plus our reputation makes our firm your firm. Visit forthepeople.com to see our results and verdicts. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No.
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has 0 outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and Zero Res. Mark Cox here. Buy 1 room of carpet, get 1 clean for free, unlimited rooms, and whole system duct cleaning for just $5.99. Visit ZeroResSTL.com.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Talking a little bit about the income tax situation here in Missouri. Aaron Hedlund, who's a member of the White House Council on Economic Advisors, is going to spend a little time with us after Sue's News. Ethan will fill in here at 4:20. He'll explain some of the carve-outs coming up.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Trump says, "Don't rush me." Lisa Brady, Fox News, in a series of posts and in the Oval Office, insisting Iran wants to make a deal and that they're the ones under pressure.
We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil.
He says the U.S. has total control of the Strait of Hormuz as a U.S. blockade of Iranian ports continues, and that he is the one who kept it closed after Iran agreed to reopen it.
I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal. I want to get a deal where our nation and the world is safe from lunatics with nuclear weapons.
For now, a ceasefire continues with Iran condemning the U.S. blockade. Iranian officials have demanded an end to that in order for talks to resume. The president calls now former Navy Secretary John Phelan a wonderful guy, telling reporters he really liked him, but that he's had some conflicts with other people, mainly about new ships. War Secretary Pete Hegseth fired Phelan yesterday after recently firing the Army chief.
Hegseth has fired nearly 34 military officers, including 4-star generals and admirals, since arriving at the Pentagon 15 months ago. The new acting head of the Navy is a Hegseth loyalist. Undersecretary Houck, a 25-year Navy combat veteran who ran unsuccessful campaigns for the U.S. Senate and House in Virginia.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. A mass shooting at the Mall of Louisiana turns deadly. Just getting word one person was killed, 9 others injured. Baton Rouge Police Chief T.J. Morse says it started during an argument in the mall food court.
As we start developing suspects, we're going to run down every single lead that we can to get these people in custody. But it does not appear to be just a random act of violence, but a very targeted kind of disagreement between two groups of people.
No word yet of any arrests. America is listening to Fox News.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-983-2077 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-983-2077. That's 800-983-2077. What do you have to lose? Call 800-983-2077. Again, 800-983-2077.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
More and more clouds take over this evening and overnight, but for evening plans, all is dry and nice temperatures, mainly in the 70s. A couple of showers and spot thunderstorms toward morning. 65 Friday. Scattered showers, some spot storms anytime during the day on Friday. This is not a severe weather outbreak. There will be some thunderstorms around, though. 78 for the high. Friday night, partly cloudy, 54. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, here we go into hour number 2. Fred's hanging out. Ethan as well. Sue's off today. She's going to be off for a few days. She went to hunt diamonds in Arkansas.
I hope she comes back.
The life of Sue Thomas. And then right as I was about to press the microphone on, Fred was like, oh. And then I'm like, wait, did I, forget something, or did you forget something? And he says, oh, yeah, I forgot your anger. And my anger goes back to a couple hours ago. Ethan's eyes have kind of gained interest. I didn't take any of this out on you, though, today. Or Fred. Usually I do. Usually I like to take it out on one of you guys. But I decided not to. No, it's just, and I think these are relatable stories for people that relate to customer service. The first one is, it's really nobody's fault. It's just the way that it is. So, I got rear-ended a week ago, right? And honest to God, it was a tap. It wasn't really even rear-ended. I was sitting at a light at Hawkins and 141. And the dude's foot slipped, and but it did enough damage to the car that the car needs to be repaired. It's drivable, it's fine. I don't want to take it through a car wash, and Fred, I'm a little anal about my car.
Oh, yeah.
And it's dirty right now. But if I take it through a car wash, the back bumper is probably going to come off. So I know that they have the spray car washes and stuff like that. I can do that. But this was my fear kind of going in. So the accident was a week ago. The people had insurance. So I told you I went through the process. It was very streamlined and very easy to go through. You take pictures, you do a 360 thing, you enter some information, they ask you questions, and then boom. So I had not heard from Progressive until yesterday. I called, and then they gave me like a 573 number. So I don't know if the guy is here or if he's in Columbia, but he called me back and, kind of ran me through the process. I just have to make sure that I can get it into a body shop, and I'm going to pick my body shop. My guys in High Ridge, Spieler Automotive, said Paul's Paints is really good. So I called there today, and they're a body shop, and I'm going to get the car in there. But this is what happens. So they can't see me because they're busy, right, until Tuesday morning. So I have an appointment with them on Tuesday morning. That's cool. Well, he told me, I think it was Ray, shout out to Ray, nice guy. He's like, well, then Progressive will take like 2 or 3 days to send the adjuster out. So they'll do the estimate, and then the adjuster has to come and say, okay, it's a real estimate. I see the damage, blah, blah, blah. So that's the end of next week. Okay, so they have the car. So then you got, and I said to him, I said, this is going to be a stupid question, but can you give me like any kind of win? He's like, I don't know, because I don't know the parts. I said, I get it. I told you it was a stupid question. So, but think about this. I would say I'm going to make a prediction. Now, my predictions are always wrong, Fred, as you know. So God, I hope I'm wrong on this one. I bet I don't have this car back before Memorial Day. It'll take like 4 or 5 weeks to get it fixed.
That's you get just a loaner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do get a rental car, and they'll have to pay for that, and they'll have to pay for it as long as I need it. But still, I hate that. It's just a big pain. But the other story is, and you get so frustrated with customer service, and this is why I wanted to share this one. So I don't know if I mentioned the fraud on my debit card from a couple of weeks ago. Did I? So I was playing pickleball 2 Saturdays ago, and my wife texted me and says, hey, did you make this charge? U.S. Bank just locked down the debit card. So I'm like, oh, God, what are we? And you might remember I have got a couple incidents from the last couple of years, 2 on my Southwest card, which one happened right after I went to Greece last year, and then one happened on the debit card as well. So I've had to deal with this a few times with getting new cards. And unless I'm forgetting something, when I've reported fraud to U.S. Bank before, because what happened was there was a charge that came through. They flagged it. We looked at it. We didn't recognize it. Out of an abundance of caution, I said, lock it down, send a new card, right? Well, as it turned out, it was a legitimate deal, something my wife had done. But, I didn't know at the time.
That happens.
And it came in under a strange name, right? So this is 2 weeks ago Saturday, right? This Saturday would be 2 weeks. So we call right away, and I'm like, and whenever I've done this before, I'm like, can you expedite the cards, please? Because, we're going to tear up the cards.
Right.
And I mean, I've done this with U.S. Bank over the years several times because I've had this happen. They expedite it. It's there within maybe sometimes a day. It's FedEx. Boom. I have it right away. I'm like, man, that's great. So they say they're going to send it, and I say, please expedite it. It doesn't come until next Friday. Last Friday. Last Friday. And it's just one card. It's just one card. It's not my card. It's Becky's card. I'm like, well, okay. Why didn't? Because they've sent both in the past. So I call and I'm like, hey, I need my debit card. You talk to someone that barely speaks English. They can't really understand you. They apologize. I don't care if you're apologizing. I just want debit card. That's last Friday, right? Today is what? Thursday, right? No card comes in the mail. So I call. I spent a half an hour. My whole trip in is on the phone with U.S. Bank. And I'm saying I right from the beginning, because they start with the script and all that, right? I apologize, Mark. Oh, we are so sorry. I'm like, listen, I don't care about your apologies. I don't care about any of that right now. I want my debit card. I need a supervisor. Can you please get me to a supervisor? So finally, at one point I had to say, can you mute yourself? Because I could hear all the other operators in the back. I'm like, for the love of, I can't even hear you. Okay, so can you get me to a supervisor? So I get to a supervisor who actually speaks English in a way that I can, understand. I actually congratulated him. I said, hey, we're off to a good start because you can actually speak English and I understand what you said. And then I went on my rant, and then I said, okay, now you talk. And the dude goes, thank you, Mark, for permission, I think he said sarcastically. But I was so done with it. Like, I'm so sick and tired of it. And here's where I've come down, okay? Now, you tell me, Fred, if you think I'm right. Ethan, you too. I, honest to God, think that in the next few years, when AI really kicks in, and the operators in India, we don't hire the operators in India anymore. We let AI do it all. I think AI's customer service is going to be better than what we have right now, because half the people you talk to, they're not here. They don't care what they're doing, right? They don't do a good job. Even the guy today, I said to him, I asked for expedited of the card. Well, I don't see that on here, so I will make a note of that. Make a note of that for who? Who gives a rat's ass at U.S. Bank? They're not going to do anything different, right? So now I have two choices. One, and this is the one I want to make, after being a U.S. Bank customer for God knows how long, back to when they were like First Star, something like that, when they acquired a bank that I was in Milwaukee. It's a Minneapolis company. So they acquired, back in the day when banks were merging and everything like that. I'm tempted to move to Chase at this point because I have my credit card through Chase. But then what happens? You got all these automatic deductions and all this stuff. Things are tied to the bank account. They make it a complete pain in the ass. But I'm actually hoping AI can provide me with better customer service.
It would seem like it might be able to down the road. I mean, because they could weed through a whole bunch of options to get you to the right person.
It's not a when, or it's not an if, it's a when. This
right.
is 100% going to happen. And there's certain jobs I think that you're okay with this happening, but it's unsettling because you wonder what job markets are going to be. I don't think that people that are
in this case, again, they're farming. This is what I told the dude. I'm like, look, you're farming this out to people who don't care. They're not good at what they do.
Right, and that's why I'm not concerned about this. But this is, one of probably the few examples in which I don't really care. I don't know if you've seen this, Mark, the last couple of days, but ChatGPT, I guess, just had this new update, and now graphic designers are panicking because you can put in. I've seen people, hey, ChatGPT, can you create a cool edit of Connor McDavid for the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Oh, absolutely.
And they are putting together these unbelievable-looking graphics.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, these people that put a lot of time and effort into these are like, well, what the heck?
Right.
One click of a button, and all of a sudden, they're doing what takes me an hour to do.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. There's no doubt about that. And I don't know how that shift's going to work because we're all going to be, to a certain extent, victims of that. But the customer service thing, it's just not going to get better. Like, where was I? I was somewhere else this week where I was trying to get help from someone, and you could barely get help.
Did you ever tell your bragging rights tickets story on air?
Which one was that?
But you couldn't find your bragging rights tickets this year, and you were freaking out on a customer service rep.
Well, yeah, that was just a weird thing because they got put into my
like a different
Ticketmaster account.
or something.
I don't know, but I was literally up to the minute of going to the game with Brad Young. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get in.
Oh, well, you were sitting in your office.
You heard me
you were
being angry. Oh yeah, Ethan heard me with customer service.
Fred, it was World War III. It was. I have never. We hear of the infamous Mark Reardon epic rants and him losing his mind. Mark Reardon, but despite his bark sometimes, has mellowed out so much compared to what he used to be. You would probably say that as well.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
But that phone call was the most I've ever heard you yell.
If you light me up,
epic.
Yeah, if you light me up, I'm gonna light back. I kind of look like Trump like that, and you're not going to win that. I promise you. And I try not to, like when I'm doing that, and this is hard, believe it or not, I try not to use profanity because then they'll probably hang up on you.
You failed.
In that case, I might have failed.
You 100% failed.
Did I on that one?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Well, I was looking for my ticket. Well, in that case, that woman kept telling me that my ticket was somewhere. I'm like, it is freaking not there.
Mark, you know what? It ended up all okay. You got to go to the game, and your Mizzou Tigers performed very well.
I wish, that would have turned out better if I could never find the ticket and go into that game.
Maybe it was an Enterprise Center thing this year because they played there twice this year and they laid an egg each time.
Yeah,
that time in the NCAA tournament.
Okay, so quickly before we do Ethan's news, because this is crazy. First of all, the Mets lost their losing streak, right? Or they ended.
It is over.
Vientos bloops one shallow right that may fall, and it does for a base hit. Beatty on his way home. He scores the go-ahead run. Mets lead it 3-2.
There were some great memes that were created, mainly by Yankees fans of all this stuff that happened. But my goodness, I mean, the stats, Ethan, you would know them better than I, but the stats when it comes to making the playoffs when you get a start like this are relatively very, very low.
Jeff Passan of ESPN said that one team in, I believe, baseball history has a losing streak larger than 11 in a season and has made the postseason. Now, I'll say this. This team has the second highest payroll in baseball. There is a ridiculous amount of talent on that roster. If anyone was to be able to overcome it, it would be the New York Mets.
Now, I enjoyed the part that everybody was dogging on Mamdani because the streak started
after he hugged the Mets.
Mrs. Met.
That's right. And then this is crazy. Logan Gilbert. Did the Cardinals play Seattle this weekend?
Yes.
Okay, so Logan Gilbert is one of the pitchers for the Mariners. This has never happened in baseball before. There was a 107.8 mile per hour hit that came off the bat, and it was caught in the shirt of his jersey. In his jersey!
Right back, and it is caught. No. It's in his shirt. Logan Gilbert wore that one at 108 miles an hour, right between the buttons.
And he couldn't find it, so I sent this to Fred last night, and Fred's response, Ethan, was, well, that has to be an out, right? Well, it's not. They didn't know, but it has to be caught. Yeah, it was a hit, right?
So which is weird. You'd think that if it doesn't touch the ground, you have secured it in some sort of way, right?
Has to go in the glove, though, I guess.
I think the rules say it has to either be in the glove or in your hand.
Yeah.
That's how you can catch it.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
That is crazy.
Not a piece of equipment.
But, I mean, we've seen some crazy things. Never seen that. That's a unique event last night. Ethan's News coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
So things are pretty slow if you're on 270 southbound from Page, kind of pockets down to 44, northbound side Manchester to past 64. If you're on 170 northbound from Natural Bridge up to Airport Road, pretty heavy. And southbound side slow spots from Olive down to 64. 70 westbound slow spots 367 to Lindbergh through O'Fallon and then over to 64. And 64 westbound Kings Highway to about Clayton, slow through Chesterfield, then before 364 to 70. Eastbound side from Mason to 270, slow but not heavy, and then 170 to Big Bend. I'm Trent Erickson at 416 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, we're going to get Stuart in here from Stuart's American Mortgage to visit with us in the next hour. I'm very much looking forward to that because Stewie's an interesting guy, and I've only gotten a chance to know him personally for the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 months. He came to our birthday party. He's been a sponsor of Annie's show for a while, but I was so impressed with just the way that he does business. Now, let me be honest. When I started hearing about the bagel loan, and then there's these claims about no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees, I'm like, wait a second, come on. That can't be true. But he can explain why it is true. And if you refi, now you might be worried about rates, but if you're taking all that out of the mix, you may still come out ahead of the game. Maybe you have a 30-year mortgage, you want to reduce that to a 20 or a 15. There's options for that as well. When you buy a home, you take out a loan for $200,000 or more, you pay 0 lender fees. So Google the bagel loan, or here's his cell phone. You can text him, you can call him, he'll get right back to you. It's he and his son Jordan that do all the loans. They can close you quickly too in as little as 10 days. So call or Google the bagel loan, 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. Stuart's American Mortgage. NMLS number 226715.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
I'm getting older. Do I need to worry about falling?
Yes, you do. Every year, 1 in 4 people 65 and older will experience a fall, and many result in serious injury. The majority of falls happen at home, so take a look around. Replace bulbs and add lighting to help you see obstacles. Remove things that can make you trip. Fix uneven steps and floors, and install handrails in bathrooms and on stairs. Consider balance or strength training exercises, which can help with agility. Get your eyes and hearing checked regularly. Changes in your hearing can affect your balance. To learn more, please talk to your doctor about steps you can take to help prevent a fall. You can also visit aarpfoundation.org or MedicareMadeClear.com/falls. This message was brought to you by United Healthcare and AARP Foundation.
Have you ever felt like you were living just a B or B+ life? It's so dangerous to live that, more dangerous than a B- or a C+ life, because when you're living a B or B+ life, you don't change it. You think it's good enough. Is it? I'm Susie Welch. I host a podcast called Becoming You. People think, okay, an A+ life is not available to me, but there is a way. We are all in the process of becoming ourselves. Listen to Becoming You wherever you get your podcast.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis conservative.
All right, we got Aaron Hedlund coming up here in just a little bit. He's a member of the White House Council on Economic Advisors. He's going to talk a little bit more about the personal income tax phase out here in Missouri, the ballot issue. So that's coming up. Sue is off today. We have Ethan pinch hitting.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Except it's not Sue. It is Ethan. Sue is out for the next handful of days, so you're stuck with me.
Yeah, you got 4 of these to do, don't you?
But I do have 2 bells over here,
okay, that's
so we're locked and ready to go. It is National Picnic Day. Hey, anyone do picnics anymore?
Haven't had one of those in a while, really.
Yeah, not really.
So I feel like growing up, my family, my mom especially, really tried to keep this just feels like an old days kind of thing, like when you think back, like, oh, I did that when you were a kid, right? And I feel like we would at least a couple times a summer go to whether it be Forest Park or a local spot, and we would just have a day in the park, ride bikes, do a picnic, and you know what? Those are sweet memories. I am not anti-picnic.
You know, I would say that the art of the picnic maybe has been lost a little bit. You know, just I think people, to your point, may have done it a long time ago.
Yeah,
a little bit
we
more.
did it when I was growing up, but not in decades.
Right.
I think maybe,
now I feel guilty that I haven't done a picnic like with my daughter or something like that. I've talked about that before.
Maybe a good daddy-daughter date. Like go just take her out to Art Hill or something. Like, go to the zoo and then go I don't know, go make. No,
it is a good idea.
Make some sandwiches, Mark.
It's a creative idea.
Okay, I have a list for you guys of some of the most now collectible things from the 2000s, and really the goal of this segment is just to make you guys feel old.
Yeah, that won't be hard. That will not be hard.
That's what I do
guarantee
best.
That.
So, how about this? Before we start, this is things from the 2000s. Is there any guesses of anything that you think may be on this list?
But what's the list of what from the 2000s?
A website has put out a list of 10 things from the 2000s that are now considered collectible in value.
All right.
But you could some people might also just say that's just junk that everyone had, but now is just kind of packed away because you don't use it anymore.
Okay.
Technology
like maybe original
has advanced.
iPod or something like that?
iPod is on there, yep.
Okay.
Fred, any thoughts? Any guesses?
I was going to say flip phone.
I don't see flip phones on here. But even old iPhones are on here.
Oh, I believe
mean,
that.
the first
2008
iPhone
was the first iPhone.
Has aged so much. How far have we come? I mean,
it's so
even
funny.
The size of them.
Even when you go back and you look at your pictures, from Instagram or Facebook, and you see you could literally see the quality growing over the years.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through this list. At number 10 on the list is VHSs that were technically still in the early 2000s.
I was going to guess that, actually, because we were using those in the early 2000s.
You see those like crazy at estate sales.
The first,
you do?
Like 1,000 VHS tapes.
Yeah.
I remember
they're all dusty.
Watching one movie notably on VHS growing up, and it was that's 2. I lied. The first
it was a Disney movie.
Land Before Time, Disney, or maybe that was Universal. But then also the first Star Wars was A New Hope. That's the only one. That's all I remember about VHS. Even here's the sad part is that even DVDs are on here now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Do you use? I know you have quite the system for your movies and stuff. So do you still use DVDs?
I got rid of all my DVDs.
Okay.
I don't. I have a drawer full of them, and those were basically if the cable goes out, or not the cable, but if the Wi-Fi goes out, we could put a DVD in. But I just have a handful of them. I mean,
So you still have a DVD player though, or like
I do.
a Blu-ray
I have
player?
2. I have 2. But I mean, the last time I used it, I can't even tell you.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
There's no need for one anymore.
Well, that's why I got rid
everything.
of. This was tough, but I got rid of all my CDs and all my DVDs because I'm I'm never going to use them again.
That's hard.
That is a tough pill to swallow. Fred, you still have a DVD player?
We do, but again, I haven't used it for years.
Yeah. My parents still have one, and they actually still use it a lot.
Okay, I should also point out that it was a little less difficult for me to get rid of all that stuff because I barely paid for any of it, because I really did. All my music, music and my movies, the movie companies, for the most part, those were things that they were sending me.
Lego sets. Were Legos around when you guys were growing up?
Yeah, but not like they are today. These are different Legos.
I was never hardcore into Legos, but I feel like Legos are still kind of
Oh yeah,
big time. I don't know.
One of my sons still does Legos, in his mid-20s.
Yeah, Alexa
but they've got expensive,
very
fancy
expensive
Legos now.
She's gotten away from the Legos, but she was doing it a couple of years ago, and she would do that with her brothers and with the brothers' girlfriends and stuff. So it's something that she kind of she's drifted away. She's doing this stuff now. It's this different art where she takes these little tabs and she plucks them into designs, and it's very meticulous. You have to do one little piece at a time, and that's kind of her thing right now. It's like artwork.
The next one on here, I've never even heard of. Tamagotchis?
What's a Tamagotchi?
Virtual pets that were, it says, all the rage 20 to 30 years ago.
I think I've heard that, but I don't really remember what that was.
Okay, next, I was never into Pokemon cards, even though when I was growing up, it felt like everyone was into
my
Pokemon.
kids were. My boys were
Big
for
time
sure.
Pokemon.
Yeah, because Evan was born in 97 and Aiden was born in 2000.
Even when Pokemon Go came back a handful of years ago, I guess probably because I wasn't into it the first time around. I wasn't hardcore into it or anything.
I was over at my nephew's house over the weekend, and he's mid-20s as well, and he found a whole bunch of his old Pokemon cards, and we were going through them. They didn't mean anything to me, but some of them bring a lot of money if you try and sell them.
Next one is first editions. For example, original run of the Harry Potter books. Says that the mint condition ones can actually bring in some good value.
I believe that.
Gaming consoles like a Nintendo 64, maybe the original PlayStation. I don't think I have any of my old ones still. iPods came in at number 3 on the list, as you mentioned, Mark. iPhones at number 2. And Mark, I imagine you have a handful of this tour merch. T-shirts, tour jackets, other stuff from bands and artists.
I really don't.
No?
And the reason is because the bands don't hand stuff like that out. Like in any of the music business work I did was in the 80s, and, that's completely different. But I don't like most of the tour merch. I so much hope for an artist that has like a T-shirt that doesn't suck, like just your basic cotton T-shirt, and you're going to spend $60 on it. I don't do that stuff. What I have done is some artists do these custom posters for the shows, like it'll specifically say St. Louis or Nashville or wherever it is. I like doing that, and then I frame them.
Keep an eye on the second round selection of the NFL draft, which I think the second round is not tonight, it's tomorrow.
Right,
I believe.
think
Today's
so.
just the first round, but Heinz is offering free ketchup for life for the number 57 overall pick. Considering that the draft is indeed in Pittsburgh, it makes sense. That's where the ketchup company is based. It used to be Heinz Field. Plus, there's a 57 connection, the number on the bottles. They were H.J. Heinz's lucky digits when he debuted his product in 1896. So tonight's 57th pick will go to your favorite team, Mark, the Chicago Bears, and will also receive a custom Mr. 57 jacket. That's pretty cool. I think that's fun.
Yeah, the Packers don't even have a first-round pick tonight because of the Micah Parsons deal.
My Vikings pick 18th, which just happens to be the last pick of teams that don't make the playoffs. So pretty ideal there. So we got... Oh, we're at 1 minute remaining here. Okay, all right. I got to wrap it.
I was giving him the wrap a minute early because yesterday threw me off so much. We were like late yesterday. And I didn't realize
okay,
it.
I got to rapid fire.
I
got to rapid fire through some of these on this days in histories because there's some big ones as well as some birthdays. Olympic gold medal snowboarder Chloe Kim, 26 today. John Cena is 49 today. George Lopez, 65. On this day, 410 years ago, William Shakespeare died at the age of 52. Wow. Let's see, what else? 112 years ago today in 1914, Wrigley Field opened in Chicago. The Cubs played against the first team there was the Chicago Whales in the now defunct Federal League. Henry Aaron hit his first home run 72 years ago today. 41 years ago, New Coke was introduced.
41 years ago, New Coke was also unintroduced.
First YouTube video came out 21 years ago today. And Avengers Infinity War premiered 8 years ago today. Crazy list. Crazy list of things today.
That is a lot of stuff there. Thank you, Ethan. Wrapping up Ethan's news. Sue's off for a few days. She's back next Wednesday. So he's got the reins tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Microsoft is starting a one-time voluntary retirement program. It'll be open to workers in the U.S. at the senior director level and below. If their age and years of employment add up to 70, then they are eligible. That accounts for about 7% of its current U.S. workforce. This plan is coming forward as Microsoft expands its AI operations. Starbucks appears to be winning over consumers with its loyalty rewards program. 60% of its fiscal 2025 revenue was tied to that program, and its new 60-star redemption, which gives the customer a 2% discount, is being well received also. It is seeing success with its free Mod Mondays, which is a free customization on a drink. Wall Street stocks were lower across the board. Dow Industrial average down 180 points, ending the session at 49,310. NASDAQ lost 219 points. S&P 500 fell by 29. And that's your money now.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Warm weather means more storms, and you never know when the high winds or the hail might damage your roof. Mark Cox here from my friends at Corel Roofing Company. If you haven't had your roof inspected in the last 5 years, you need to call Curtis Corel and get that inspection to check for leaks and for damage. We've already had small hailstorms this spring, and we're not quite a year out from the big hailstorm last May. Your window may be closing to file an insurance claim connected to that. Now, here's what Curtis tells me. They are getting roofs approved for insurance claims from that 2024 storm with no problem. They're so good at what they do. The insurance companies respect and respond to them. Consider this part of your spring maintenance for your home and call Curtis today and get him out there. He did my new roof, and it looks fantastic. You're going to love working with him. They specialize in all the luxury roof shingle lines. Call 314-222-9529 or go online today to CorelRoofingCo.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Actually, this is interesting, and I won't mention the sponsor, but I had a sponsor reach out on Twitter who was listening to the show earlier and said, hey, Mark, listening to you, enjoy it as usual. Sounds like you're in favor of changing the way the state collects taxes. I'm not sure which way to go on this, but leaning toward no, I would save a lot on state taxes for sure, but concerned how it will affect my business. And I think a lot of people have that, that fear at this point. That's why we're going to make sure that we cover all kinds of aspects of this moving forward. I think that there are certainly Republicans, there are certainly libertarian Republicans that aren't crazy about this plan. One of the difficulties is you don't really know what's going to happen if it passes. We know that the income tax will be phased out, but what will the other revenue sources be? What will the carve-outs be, et cetera? Aaron Hedlund is with us. He's a member of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. He has a lot to say about Governor Kehoe's plan. I think he's in Boston with Nick Schroer, which is weird, too, because we had Senator Schroer on earlier. Aaron, how are you? Welcome back to the show.
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
So there is some fear out there, I think, from people on this, business owners, even people who are conservative that say, yeah, we would love to get rid of the state income tax. We see some of the benefits of that. We can see some economic opportunities. But what are the other implications going to be? And there's a lot of, the sky is falling Chicken Little stuff going on right now, of course, from the Democrats in particular.
Yeah, so first of all, it's a generational opportunity to grow the pie in Missouri. But it's at the same time a very practical plan. This isn't some experimental, risky thing. We can look to other states who are doing this exact sort of thing, namely Texas, Tennessee, Florida. I actually like Tennessee as a good example because you can't discount it by saying, oh, they've got beaches or oil or whatever. And basically, this is just removing the most anti-growth tax that exists, which is the income tax. That penalizes work. It takes money directly out of people's paychecks. So this is great for consumers, for families, for businesses, all across the board.
I think, like I said, I think it's legitimate to ask about, the plan and ask questions. But it's shocking to me how many people apparently are in favor of the government confiscating more of their money. And by the way, I've always made this clear, Aaron. I think you know this. You could write a check to the United States Treasury. I'm sure you could do it for Missouri as well. They'd gladly take your donation. No one's holding you back from doing that. But the way that I see this being, exposed on social media is it's the worst thing that could ever happen. Allowing people in Missouri to keep more of their money. How awful is that of Governor Keto to even propose that, right?
Yeah, I find the alarmism a bit over the top. I mean, people should, of course, look and think carefully about this, but we're talking about eliminating the paycheck tax. That's what it is. It's a tax that takes money directly out of your paycheck. You have no control over that or how you spend your money. And it basically will empower Missourians to instead control their own economic fate. And actually, the Council of Economic Advisors released a study back in January where we actually looked at each state with an income tax, what would be the benefit if they got rid of it. And we also talked about how that's replaced and all that. And we found that for the state of Missouri, the typical middle-of-the-road worker would see their pre-tax wage go up by nearly $3,000 per year. And then also business startup rate would go up by about 12 to 14%.
So I want your reaction to this just because, I always go out when things like this happen. I take the temperature of the folks that I know. I text. I see some social media interaction, et cetera. I had a lot of people on both sides yesterday when I asked the question, do you think this thing is going to pass? They said no because of the money basically that will come in to fight it. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously, the conventional wisdom or maybe the gut would be, hey, who's going to say no to a question that says, would you like to get rid of your income tax? But there's these special interest groups out there that are afraid that the carve-outs might not be something that helps their businesses. So how do you work through that coming forward? Since I think one of the criticisms, even on the part of some Republicans, is the legislature is going to put this on the ballot before deciding on some of the carve-outs, et cetera, which would have to happen in the aftermath of it passing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it will be an expensive messaging battle, and you will have special interest groups coming out with fear stories and all that. But I also think there will be a lot of supporting messages as well, because again, this is not risky. This is something that other states are doing, and they're beating us. They're leaving us in the dust. I mean, Missouri, for the last 25 years, over much of that time, we've been bottom 10 in economic growth. If Missouri were doing really well, what's the point? But the reality is we're not doing that great, and so we need an adrenaline shot of growth. And it's a very responsible plan. It basically says that the income tax will be eliminated gradually over time because of revenue triggers. And then when it comes to exceptions to the sales tax, the point I would make there is the amendment has very strong protections that any change to sales taxes, any dollar that comes in from that, has to be offset by income tax reductions. None of this can end up in the hands of Jefferson City spending more. And it also allows, frankly, for a fairer sales tax. The sales tax was designed back in the 1930s. It's entirely focused on goods. So if you're a business that makes things, you are the ones that are completely subject to the sales tax. If you're talking about luxury services that upper income people pay, those are not subject to any sales tax. Frankly, the broader the base, the lower the rate that could be on the sales tax.
But you would agree or you would disagree, there will be some carve-outs on this, right?
Yeah, the governor has stated publicly that he would like health care exempted, for example. And frankly, that would make Missouri one of the most pro-health care states in the entire country because you would be removing the income tax that health care providers currently pay, which, by the way, gets passed along to consumers as well. It's not like it comes entirely out of the providers' paychecks. So you have income tax gone on health care providers, which means more doctors are going to come here, more nurses, more providers. So you have really great health care and no sales tax on that either. Beyond that, of course, it will be ultimately a political decision as to what else gets exempted. But again, the point I would make is the more things that get exempted, the higher the rate is and everything else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a concern as well. All right, so here's some things I get on Twitter. Let me get your reaction to this. Replacing one tax with other taxes is not tax cutting. It's a game of hide the bacon from taxpayers. Nobody knows what taxes they will be paying or how much. Since sales taxes are regressive, the burden falls heaviest on low-income Missourians. That's something that obviously a lot of people are saying because, sales taxes are going to hurt lower-income people, aren't they?
One is it's not just a tax swap. The key thing that the amendment guarantees is that there will be a revenue growth limit. So if you look at since 2019, Jefferson City has grown in terms of spending by about twice the rate of inflation. this would stop that from continuing. So the overall tax burden would unambiguously go down because of this. And when it comes to hidden taxes, and the income tax is the ultimate hidden tax because it shows up in the price of everything, but you don't actually see it on the receipt, right? It's just that businesses, they pay a tax and they pass it along to the consumer. The sales tax is at least transparent. And when it comes to people at the bottom, lower income people, the best thing we can do for them, number one, is to make sure that they're having larger paychecks, which is exactly what this does. Secondly, let's spread the sales tax burden away from just the goods that they tend to spend most of their money on towards the services that higher income people spend money on. So it's actually a very fair change.
Do you have an opinion on whether, because the governor has to decide which ballot to place this on, right? It could be August or it could be November. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's sort of out of my lane, but we'll see what happens.
So, well, I mean, I guess that's a political equation, right? You have to kind of figure out, and there's other ballot issues as well, and Senator Schroer kind of went over that with us. I am surprised. This is what I will tell you, Aaron. I'm surprised by how many people that, in theory, are on my side, maybe on your side of the political equation, are making some, points against this right now. And I'm a little shocked by that. I didn't think that would happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, one thing in politics is you always have to distinguish between the loud voices and then everyone else. And I think when people read the ballot language and when they read the amendment itself, they'll realize it's quite practical, very sensible, and they should rightly have questions. But yeah, certainly in some corners I've seen supposedly conservative people making like pro-income tax arguments, which is completely bizarre if you consider the entire history of the income tax and how damaging it is to growth and the government invading your privacy and demanding you tell them what you earn and all that. But I think the sound arguments will win out in the end.
Well, but I think what's happening is that I hope you're right about the sound arguments. The fear-mongering is what's going to really play itself out because of the groups that are going to oppose that, and that's what I'm worried about because I think you're going to have people that are just confused about this, and maybe they vote no. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to see what the campaign is. I would hope there'd be a fair amount of money that would come in to support this. We know that Rex Sinquefield from here in St. Louis has been a supporter of this for a long time. It's one of his main goals, right, and to get rid of the earnings tax as well. How would you, Aaron Hedlund is here. He's a member of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. What would you say about the broader overall economy right now as we're in sort of this war, gas prices spiking, inflation spiking a little bit, but obviously the tax relief that American people are getting from the big, beautiful bill is helping put more money into their bank accounts. How would you rate the economy right now?
Yeah, I mean, the economy is a very strong foundation right now. I mean, there's no question people are noticing that there has been a bit of an uptick in gas prices, and that's going on because of the conflict. But that's something that will go away. It's not something that's going to linger. And frankly, just record tax season in terms of people getting refunds back. You're going to see larger and larger paychecks. We have tons of investment coming into the economy right now. And deregulation is also something that is removing cost factors, right? So, I mean, the president has signed a number of executive orders on everything from energy to housing. And so I think the prosperity is there. And of course, people are feeling a little bit of a blip in costs right now, but I think they'll see that fade away.
The red tape issue isn't sexy, right? Doesn't get enough attention with that, but that's so important when it comes to just the obstacles that businesses have to get things done, like in a timely fashion.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about hidden taxes. I mean, regulation is a hidden tax. It is a tax that government imposes on businesses and consumers. It adds to costs, but it never shows up on a receipt, so it's sometimes hard to track. But the Council of Economic Advisors and others, we have been tracking that. And frankly, the Biden administration added about $5 trillion worth of regulatory cost, which we are very, very actively peeling back.
Aaron Hedlund, thank you so much for the update. And this is obviously not a topic that's going to go away, so we'll keep asking questions and keep talking about it. But I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on this afternoon.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, take care. So, let me just kind of lay out my position on all this right now. I would love to get rid of the state income tax. I give Governor Kehoe credit for doing something bold that is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But I am a little surprised by the pushback that I'm even hearing from some people who are conservatives right now. And a lot of that is the fear, mongering. Look, someone just texted me and said about Aaron, this guy's, full of what, because doctors will charge tax on their services. Well, we already addressed that in the conversation. There's going to be a carve-out. But the question then becomes, how many carve-outs? Who's going to get the carve-outs? The criticism of the Republicans would be, and this may be somewhat legitimate, is they rushed this thing. They wanted to get it to the ballot, and they didn't make decisions on what would happen specifically with the sales tax, and that will, I guess, happen in the aftermath of this passing or failing. But I think there's great risk here for Governor Kehoe, because if all this money comes in and people buy into the fear-mongering, I do have some concerns about sales tax being a little cost-prohibitive in some areas. We've talked about special business district taxes. You know, I always was curious about this, and this goes back maybe 15 years. When I lived in the city, I would go to Loughborough and 55. I lived in Cronwell Park, Holly Hills. So there's a Schnucks there, and there's a Lowe's. And I remember going to the Lowe's one time looking at one of my receipts, and I was looking at the taxes, and it was like a 12% tax, because you had the regular sales tax, you had local sales tax, you had the special business tax, and you get a lot of these special business taxes. So if you have more taxes on services that people aren't used to paying, that creates, headaches for those business owners, for some independent business owners. Is there going to be enough to offset that? Now, my idea would be, this is radical, I know that, and people in Jeff City and D.C. aren't used to this. How about spending less money, right? They're going to have to do this. There are triggers in here that would only kick in if the revenue numbers match up. So I guess my position would be, I'm in support of what Governor Kehoe and the legislature is going to do. I want to ask some tough questions, though. I want to know a little bit more about it. I want to know why they did certain things and why they're waiting on some of the carve-outs, because in the end, when you look at this, maybe it's not a plan that's going to work. I think there's a lot of questions about it right now. And again, he's getting some pushback from corners that I did not anticipate.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Slowdowns on 270 southbound, still going from Page down to 44. Northbound side hits the brakes. Manchester to just past 64. 170 southbound, Olive down to 64 is getting pretty heavy. Your northbound side is jammed from 70 to 270. 70 westbound, slow spots from 367 over to Lindbergh, then through the O'Fallon area and over to 64. 64 westbound, slow spots from Kings Highway to 270. Through Chesterfield, and then before 364 to 70, and eastbound side slow spots that go from Mason to Big Bend. This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. I'm Trent Erickson at 446 on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Enter now at overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Hey, it's Annie. Grab your clubs and head to Tamarack Golf Course on Friday, May 22nd for the St. Clair County Republicans annual golf tournament. Shotgun start, 18 holes, carts, contest, lunch, and great prizes. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group, as they show you how to create a worry-free retirement. It's Tuesday, April 28th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield at 6:30. Here are Thomas and Bob with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and would like to know how to turn your 401k and IRA into a worry-free retirement? Would you like to learn the investment strategy that gives you market growth while avoiding the market losses at the same time?
Would you like to get your free personalized retirement income plan? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free and have a worry-free retirement? If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Have a worry-free retirement and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw. It's at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield, Tuesday, April 28th at 6:30 p.m. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL. Or visit civialaw.com.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Maybe I should just come out and say, you know what? I love it. I love it when government confiscates money from my paycheck. So we should do that more. That's what Democrats want. Apparently some Republicans as well. Did you see the study that came out that said this is interesting? This is where our taxpayer dollars go. I'm guessing that we paid for this. This was from CBS News, ladies and gentlemen. Salmon, or do you say salmon? You shouldn't, but some people do. Salmon exposed to, who was it? It was one of the guys at the fish fry that did that. Where's Fred? He would know that. Salmon exposed to cocaine in the water swim longer distances than go without, according to a study. I don't think you needed to do that study. I could have used a little experience from the 80s and just kind of weighed in on that, and you would have saved a lot of money. But apparently what they say here, the details are somewhat interesting. They say cocaine is on the rise worldwide, and research that was released this week by scientists in Australia and Sweden studied how the drug affected the movements of wild fish in their natural habitats. So what they did was, they get paid for this, they took 105 wild Atlantic salmon in Sweden's Lake Vättern. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to say it. Exposed them both to cocaine and something else that's a metabolite created by the drug in the liver that I can't pronounce, and then they tracked their movements. They found that the river dwellers exposed to the drugs traveled 19 times. Wait a second, is there a 0.1? Okay, there we go. 1.9 times. That's a big difference, isn't it? Farther per week than their clean living control cousins. The exposed to the byproduct also swam 7.6 miles farther. So they say that any unnatural change in animal behavior is a concern. The reason that they're doing this is you have waters that are being polluted because they're, I don't know if they're ditching them off the ship or something when Trump's trying to bomb them or whatever, but there's cocaine in the water. So that's why they decided to do that. They say that there was a separate study. Again, keep in mind, people get paid for this. Last month that found that sharks in the Bahamas are consuming substances including caffeine, painkillers, and cocaine. There was the author of one of the studies that told CBS News, while the detection of cocaine, an illicit substance, tends to draw immediate attention, the widespread presence of caffeine and pharmaceuticals in the blood of many analyzed sharks is equally alarming. Yeah, I'm not too alarmed by it. I don't know. I think we're going to all be okay if there's a little cocaine in the fish and in the sharks. I mentioned this earlier. Hassan Piker, he's quite something. And Democrats love this guy, even though he's nuts. In fact, I'll give you a little proof of how much they love him. Cori Bush, who I think as every day goes on, no offense, Wesley Bell, I'm rooting for Cori Bush because I need the material, ladies and gentlemen. She provides so much entertainment for me, for us, for the rest of the country. She's going to vote the same way that Wesley Bell has. I mean, really, he's worked a little bit more on projects for St. Louis with other Congress people like Ann Wagner, et cetera. But for the most part, he's voting, straight down the line with the Democrats. Well, Cori Bush, and politically, you can't even say this is a bad idea because progressives and the nutbag leftists who will vote in the primary, they love this stuff. So Hassan Piker, a guy who thinks that 9/11 was faked, is going to be with Cori Bush on May Day next week. Here's Hassan Piker, if you don't know what he's about.
Ingalls wrote about the concept of social murder. And Brian Thompson, as the United Healthcare CEO, was engaging in a tremendous amount of social murder, the systematized forms of violence, the structural violence of poverty, the for-profit paywalled system of healthcare in this country.
So he's making the case, just so you know here, that Brian Thompson, the guy that was assassinated outside of his hotel room, who was the head of United Healthcare, killed by Luigi Mangione, it was worth it because, look, he was participating in a lot of social, murder and crime and things like that.
And the consequences of that are tremendous amounts of pain, tremendous amounts of violence, tremendous amounts of deaths. And that was a fascinating story for me because Americans are very draconian about crime and punishment. They're very black and white on this issue. And yet, because of the pervasive pain that the private healthcare system had created for the average American, I saw so many people immediately understand why this death had taken place.
Yeah, so he's justifying murder because he doesn't like the behavior of the healthcare companies. And that's what this has been about the whole time, with all these people holding posters of Luigi Mangione. He talks about Luigi Mangione.
Virtually every American has a similar experience, a shared experience, where they have a loved one that spent their last days, instead of spending them with their family, spending it on the phone, talking to their healthcare provider.
Oh, no. You know what happened? That was what happened during COVID, when you had radical people, and unfortunately President Trump was part of this at the beginning, not allowing family members to even say goodbye to them during COVID. So I think that that's a much bigger deal here. And by the way, this whole notion that this has been shared by everyone, I went to the doctor this week. Some people have good health care. We take advantage of it. If you don't gap your health care, this is another lie that the left likes to tell, that the Republicans are going to take away pre-existing conditions. Complete lie. There's been federal law since 1996 or 97 that says they cannot take away pre-existing conditions if you don't gap your health insurance. I was telling someone this the other day, and they said, what does that mean? Well, that means that you have to have health insurance. If you lose your job, get COBRA, make sure you have health insurance. If you always have health insurance, you transfer it to the next plan, they will cover you because federal law says they have to cover you, and the Democrats like to lie about that. They like to say that Republicans are taking away coverage for pre-existing conditions. Complete lie, but that's what they do.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Okay, so there's delays on southbound 270. They pretty much take you from Page on down to just about 44. Northbound side before Manchester up to 64 is slow. Southbound 170 pretty heavy now. Olive down to 64. 64. Northbound side's from 70 to 270, pretty heavy. 70 westbound slow spots from 367 to Lindbergh. Then through O'Fallon and A to 64. Eastbound side heavy from First Capitol or just past First Capitol and then into downtown. And 64 westbound slow spots from Kings Highway to Clayton. Lindbergh to 270 through Chesterfield, then before 364 to 70, and eastbound has slow pockets that go from Mason all the way over to Big Bend. I'm Trent Erickson at 456 on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. One question I'm always asked is, how did you become the largest injury firm in the world with over 1,000 attorneys and $25 billion in verdicts and settlements? One way was our financial strength. Medical malpractice is the third leading cause of death in America. To prosecute a typical case costs up to $250,000 in case cost. We advance them all. Product liability cases can have similar costs with an army of lawyers on the other side. Automobile insurance companies have the resources to fight. Guess what? So do we. Many law firms simply may not have the financial firepower to work up your case the way you deserve. And we don't charge by the hour. No recovery, no fee. If you have a question about your case or wish to become a client, go to forthepeople.com on your mobile device or computer. 24/7. It's that easy. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial # law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
This is Congressman Bob Onder. Americans demanded border security, and House Republicans delivered. According to the Department of Homeland Security, for 10 consecutive months, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has reported 0 illegal aliens released at the border. I'm proud to have worked with the Trump administration to secure our southern border and uphold our immigration laws, and will keep fighting to advance strong policies that protect Missourians and keep America safe.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
You know the rush when you reach that goal, when something you've worked for pays off. That's success. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we believe you should never stop chasing it. That's why we offer a skills-based education that helps move your career forward. Learn how to apply emerging technologies like AI and data science. Build your leadership and critical thinking skills. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start May 13th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Shell.
If you're considering buying or selling a home, when it comes to choosing the Gelman team with eXp Realty, numbers don't lie. Over 1,500 Google and Zillow 5-star reviews, nearly 6,000 homes, and $2.5 billion in real estate sold. 314-336-1991, thegelmanteam.com.
Curious about precious metals as a financial diversification? Tune into the Crest Report every Sunday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon and learn more about precious metals. Golden Crest Metals. GoldenCrestMetals.com.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Okay, I think we're just a little early here, but let me just tell you what's coming up after the top of the hour. Curtis Houck will be here, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. He'll talk about some of the things related to the almost called it St. Louis Public Schools, the Southern Poverty Law Center indictment story. Also, the redistricting vote in Virginia, how Barry Weiss is impacting CBS News coverage. Curtis has all of that and more coming up here after the top of the hour. Then Stuart Rosenblum is going to join me at the bottom of the hour, talking a little bit about mortgage rates and where that's all heading in refining. So it's all coming up, plus an audio cut of the day.
No pressure to reach a quick deal with Iran.
I don't want to rush myself, because every story says, Trump is under time pressure. I'm not. No. You know who's under time pressure? They are.
President Trump says the U.S. naval blockade around Iran is doing economic damage to the country's lucrative oil industry.
I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. We've never had so much ammunition. Our ships are loaded. I call them locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go.
The president has announced an open-ended ceasefire with Iran, saying he wants a great and everlasting deal on Iran's nuclear program.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House, and the president just announcing in the Oval Office that Israel and Lebanon have agreed to extend their ceasefire for another 3 weeks after meeting with their envoys at the White House.
We're going to be working with Lebanon to get things straightened out in that country. I really believe it's something we can do pretty easily.
Adding the Lebanese government could meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during this 3-week period, and the president said there's a great chance that peace between Israel and Lebanon will happen this year. 1 dead, 5 hurt in a shooting between 2 groups of people inside the food court at the Mall of Louisiana in Baton Rouge. Police Chief T.J. Moore says they have made some arrests.
We have 5 suspects in custody. This is still an ongoing investigation. We're still looking for more people that may be involved.
Moore said that earlier there was no known threat to the general public. Initially, it was reported that 10 people were hurt. Wall Street stocks pulled back from their record highs as uncertainty over the Iran conflict drags on. The Dow lost 179, the Nasdaq off 219, the S&P minus 29. America's listening to Fox News.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-983-2077 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-983-2077. That's 800-983-2077. What do you have to lose? Call 800-983-2077. Again, 800-983-2077.
More and more clouds take over this evening and overnight, but for evening plans, all is dry and nice temperatures, mainly in the 70s. A couple of showers and spot thunderstorms toward morning. 65 Friday, scattered showers, some spot storms anytime during the day on Friday. This is not a severe weather outbreak. There will be some thunderstorms around, though. 78 for the high. Friday night, partly cloudy, 54. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm in the most ridiculous text message exchange right now with someone who doesn't like the fact that Governor Kehoe wants to get rid of the state income tax and is calling Republicans tax and spend Republicans, which is utterly ridiculous, okay? Look, I don't even know how to start some of this. Look, the budget has, and I don't have all these figures with me right now, but the budget has doubled or tripled in the last 15 years because of healthcare costs, because of Medicaid costs. And some of that the state has to, do mandated because of the way that all this works. So no one's ever going to be happy. You're going to take away the income tax, but then Republicans are still going to be called like they tax and spend. Oh, well, why? Well, because they're going to make doctors pay sales tax. Well, no, they're not. Okay, when you go to your healthcare provider, you're not going to pay sales tax because that's going to be a carve out. And by the way, you wouldn't pay it if you have insurance anyway. You're a health insurance company. Well, they're going to raise the rates. They raise the damn rates anyway. Right? So I would prefer to keep my money on my paycheck and decide how I'm going to spend my money. And then this person says, well, the Republicans raise the gas tax. They go up 5 cents every year. No, it doesn't. Stop. It doesn't. And we still have the lowest amongst the lowest in the nation. I voted for the gas tax increase because we fund roads that way. That's how we used to do it. We're not going to do that anymore because we're going to have EVs. So you can make your choices on what taxes. You don't have to pay for things if you don't like the way it's taxed. That's a choice. I wanted to do tollways. It's a user tax, a better way to tax. If other states can do this, why can't we? So then I'm told, well, why are we a follower and not a leader? Are you kidding me? What? Nothing's ever good enough. So I'm going to root for Governor Kehoe here. I'm going to root against the Democrats who are playing the scare tactic game. And I'm going to root against Republicans who have an open mind, who don't have an open mind, to at least look at this plan and see how it's going to play out. Because you don't know. And you're assuming your tax burden is going to go up. I'm assuming mine's going to go down. And I'm pretty happy with that. But we can talk about it. We can have discussions about it. But the knee-jerk stuff here is just, it's shocking to me. And my advice to Republicans would be, stop sounding like Democrats. Okay, there. I'm off my soapbox. How'd you like that, Curtis Houck from Newsbusters? Sometimes I get a little pissy.
Can I just say, I mean, the other thing, too, is you hear from people in other states that have ended the income tax, like Florida and Tennessee. We're getting full here. I mean, my mom's aunt and uncle live in Florida, and they've lived there for over 20 years, and they're like, the traffic is unbelievable. I mean, obviously, in addition to the weather, but I feel like no state income tax is a huge draw for people.
Let me tell you something. You know how many people over in Illinois that live pretty close here might consider moving over to Missouri because they have crazy property taxes and taxes there? I think there might be a little economic appeal there. So what they're doing, though, is that what the scare tactic people want to say, oh, don't do what Kansas did because Kansas did this and they're in a financial mess. Look, we have a balanced budget amendment in Missouri. We have to balance the budget. We're going to have some taxes, some sales taxes that might go up on some things. But I'm shocked at the way that this is being received by some people on my side not having an open mind. I really am.
And we have toll roads here in Virginia, so I also know all about that.
Well, let me start with Virginia here, and let's talk about what happened with this redistricting plan. Because here, again, I'm in a bit of an uncomfortable situation because I'm consistent on this. I don't like doing it mid-decade, okay? Now, I get that President Trump put the call out for Texas, and then we did this here in Missouri, too. So we go from a 6-2 to a 7-1. Now, that's not like Virginia, though, Curtis, because you're taking a 6-5 map, which is 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans, turning that into, in theory, 10 Democrats and 1 Republican, taking a lot of representation away from people in rural areas. But how is it that this thing passed so easily?
Well, a couple things. Number one, also, Virginia had a constitutional amendment that was passed in 2020, so not that long ago, and that passed by a wide margin. Not surprisingly, Arlington County was literally the only county in the entire Commonwealth that did not vote yes for it by wide margin. So they're undoing that. That's number one. Number two, I would also say that this mid-decade redistricting thing also started. You could have the president being point B. Point A is New York. New York, between 2022 and 2024, redid their map. It eliminated 3 Republicans upstate two upstate, one on Long Island, and then the other they had lost in the Swozey special election after Santos was kicked out. So it was really 4 districts were thrown to the Democrats. But in Virginia, I mean, living in Fairfax County where 5 people are going to live within, I think, 10 miles of each other and all represent Congress, stretching all the way down west of Interstate 81 to the Blue Ridge Mountains, all the way down to Colonial Williamsburg on the other side. They don't care. They are that mad. They believe that, yes, gerrymandering is wrong, but we need to stick it to Trump no matter what.
Right.
And in every part of the state, even the blue parts, so the city of Richmond, the Tidewater area, Norfolk, where there's a lot of military folks, Virginia Beach area, every other area except Northern Virginia voted no. Some by huge margins. The New York Times has the arrows for each county, which way they went. With a few exceptions, everywhere was huge arrow red, but the blue areas outperformed 2024 even.
Well, that's
Fairfax
interesting.
County. They were that motivated, Mark, to vote for this thing because they see what's in it for us. And when you have a county that, has home to a lot of government employees, a lot of lobbyists, a lot of foreign workers, foreign-born citizens, they are all in this, to kind of stick it to Trump and maximize their political power.
So I had Sean Spicer on the show yesterday, and he was somewhat critical. Actually, not somewhat. He was very critical of Glenn Youngkin. He was critical of even Trump for not getting involved in this more actively. So why weren't there more people that were kind of getting involved in this race?
Well, I will say...
Or not the race, but the issue, the ballot issue. I'm sorry.
Right. With the president, I actually am more of the opinion of former NRSC official Matt Whitlock. He's on Fox a lot. I'm with him on the notion that if you bring Trump in too much, it actually would have even further increased the turnout in Northern Virginia. In terms of Youngkin, though, I'm of the opinion that, yes, he spent, I don't know how much money. He came in very late. I would say within the last month to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And you couldn't go anywhere. My wife would tell you that. My friends would tell you that no matter what you did, you went on YouTube, you streamed something on Paramount or Peacock, on cable, on the radio.
You'd see ads.
The yes ads.
Right.
The yes ads were everywhere.
Right.
They'd emphasize, of course, Mark, a temporary measure, and vote yes. And they would frame it as a MAGA power grab. And that definitely worked. Interestingly, I would say, though, in the lead up to this, Mark, on the broadcast networks nationally, they did not mention this except CBS the morning of. But leading into it this week and the end of last week, they did not cover this story. And therefore, because they didn't cover it, they didn't have to put up the maps of what it actually looked like. And the maps were banned for being shown inside the polling place.
Oh, yeah. You're not supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, they couldn't show the maps of what you're actually voting on.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Show the maps in the polling place, because if you looked at the maps, anyone would say, "Wait a second."
Yeah, well, it's like Illinois. I mean, if you looked at the map in Illinois, it's actually like a radar shot of a big, severe thunderstorm coming across the country. That's how weird.
Correct.
And that's kind of what happened in your state. The one thing that I was reminded of listening to some of this coverage, and I've never asked this question, so I'm going to ask you. You guys have a deal where you can only be governor for one term, right?
Yeah, consecutive terms. And most actually just serve one term and then never come back. Terry McAuliffe actually took away for 4 years, and then you can actually come back and serve another term. He tried to come back and do it, and then obviously lost to Glenn Youngkin.
But why is that? What's the sense in that? I was even in an era decades ago where we had a lot of corruption. Look, corruption in politics has always existed, right? We had some situations in the early 90s with a guy who was named Bob Griffin. He was the Speaker of the House and ended up going to federal prison, and there were other things that happened. So we put term limits into effect for our lawmakers. Well, I think a lot of people would tell you, and I was a proponent of that. I thought, yeah, we got to do this. Well, what's happened is over the years, and anyone, we're in this budget situation right now, people will tell you that You got people that come into these races now and they get elected in these positions and they just want to talk blah, 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 make their political points. They don't want to do anything serious when it comes to policy. So then you have a lack of experience when it comes to actually ushering things through. Look, we have a real life example of this from President Trump's first term compared to this term. I think he would admit, and he has admitted, there's a lot of things that happened in that first term. He was kind of navigating his way around. He didn't know how Washington worked. That's changed for this term. But to have a governor only for one term seemingly would create even more issues and make it more difficult for the electorate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually been around like since the early days of the country, actually. I believe it was the early 1800s when this was actually implemented. And so it's kind of interesting to see that this is one historical nod, Mark, that Virginia Democrats actually seem to want to respect. Which I'm all for. And I think the other thing that probably does it, too, is Virginia legislature is an extremely part-time legislature. It's not just like, they meet once every 2 years or whatever. It's 30 days.
Oh, really?
Their sessions are only 30 days, and you basically get paid nothing, actually. So in terms of politics and power, there's not really a whole lot there.
So I wish that our legislature, if you go back, I referenced this story over the years. If you go back when I was kind of cutting my teeth in journalism and I was just starting to do interviews when I was at Mizzou in the University of Missouri Journalism School, and there was a guy who was a state rep from the Afton area, which is just a community that's just a little south of Columbia in the middle of the state. And he was a guy that he was a Democrat, okay? But this is in the time when we had moderate Democrats. We had a guy like Harold Volkber who represented one of the congressional districts, Democrat, but he was, pro-gun and pro-life. Remember, we used to have people like that. And in this case, you had a situation where in the 80s, I'm losing my track of thought here. What was I just talking about, Curtis? I'm having one of those senior moments.
The Virginia state term limits.
Right. Okay. Term limits. Thank you. God, this is one of those days, and Sue's not here. I think people, though, would kind of tell you that the term limits haven't worked in our favor, and it's kind of been a negative, unfortunately, just because you think something's going to work out and it doesn't work out, if that makes any sense.
Well, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to that in terms of, and as you allude to the president's example, the fact that the president, as someone who was not actively involved in politics until he was elected president, was not really familiar with kind of the machinations of the way Washington works. I mean, you can have an idea about the way people act in their own self-interest and screw you over and leak to the media and all kinds of things, but until you're actually in that environment, you don't really know how you're going to react to it. And so, and to your point as well, the president has said 4 years away, while obviously he didn't wish that were the case, has actually made him smarter and more nimble in terms of his decision making and who he wants around him, because he knows who he's dealing with now in Washington, and he knows exactly what he wants and how to do it.
And that's a benefit. Here, I remember what I was going to say, though, about this guy. So this guy was a lawmaker, and I was starting to cover him. I'm sorry. My mind went blank there. And he was someone who kind of prided himself on the fact that he had never introduced a piece of legislation. So he was a state lawmaker, and he had never, over the course of his term, and I can't remember how long he'd been in there, but he wasn't a newbie, had never introduced any bills. And as a young dude, I'm like, that's weird. Why would you be a state lawmaker and not introduce any bills? My older version is like, oh my God, I wish we had more people like that, because these people get into these legislatures and they want to introduce this bill and that bill and they want to make a name for themselves. I thought it would be Nebraska does this, I think, right? They do a bicameral. They go every 2 years. I wish we could have a situation where our lawmakers were only there for a short period of time, so then they couldn't mess things up as much as they do.
And they don't get paid as much, although on the other hand, you have to have another job, and to be able to take a month off from said job to be able to work in Richmond. Obviously, that then leads to some other issues. Maryland is also a part-time legislature as well, although they meet for basically maybe 2.5, 3 months in some cases as well. So, but no, with Virginia, I mean, Scott Jennings, got a hard time. They gave him a hard time yesterday on CNN because he said this essentially is trying to outlaw the Republican Party. And while it's obviously an extreme example, in description of things, it is the kind of most insidious, most basic way to suppress the vote.
Absolutely.
In any election at any level, to basically dilute the districts, to say, well, does your vote really matter? Is your vote actually going to go anywhere? And no one likes that. Nobody should want that. We should want as much participation in our democracy as possible. But, that's what we have right now. Although the state Supreme Court, I would say, tuned on that. Unfortunately, they were kind of saying, let's kind of see how the referendum plays out first. The ruling yesterday that was out there, that is from a county judge who had tried to stop the vote from even happening. The state Supreme Court had said, well, kind of let's just see how it goes first. But now that there's been a yes vote, now they do need to weigh in.
Could this, though, end up before the Supremes as well?
I mean, obviously, if depending on how it rules, obviously, I would presume the losing party will try to appeal.
Yeah, right.
After the state Supreme Court. Importantly, the state Supreme Court right now is Republican governor appointed controlled, I believe. So there were some Republicans actually who were very upset with the state Supreme Court, basically saying the conservative jurists lacked the stones to put an end to this before it even started.
Yeah. Well, we've had a little of that in Missouri with our Supreme Court as well. Curtis Houck is here, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. Let me just quickly, before I let you go, get your thoughts on the Southern Poverty Law Center story, because that's a blockbuster. Now, I did read a piece by a guy that I like, Jeb Rubenfield, today in the Free Press, and he said, look, this is going to be a hard case to prove in court. It certainly doesn't make the SPLC sound good, and I've covered that stupid group for a long time because they were deemed as a legitimate organization, like in the 80s. And actually, Curtis, they were a group that helped get rid of the Klan and played a pretty key role back in the 60s and early 70s in the civil rights movement. But now they've become a group that hires what they say are just insiders to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan in these organizations, and everything was hunky-dory, where this indictment says something completely different.
Yeah, number one, they're also supposed to write about far-left hate or supremacist groups like the Nation of Islam.
They don't do that, do they?
But they don't. Yeah, they don't. Jan Crawford at CBS, speaking of the Free Press and Barry Weiss, has a really good piece on last night's Evening News. She notes that even in 1995, the Montgomery Advertiser newspaper was a Pulitzer finalist for a series of stories questioning how the SPLC was using donor money. So this has been a question out there for 30 years. And my colleague Bill D'Agostino has a study out there. He looked at ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, and PBS, and he has found since Trump's first inauguration, the SPLC has been cited nearly 400 times, 392 times. And with Charlottesville, their citations in the week after the Unite the Right rally went up 6,600%, which, I mean, is just simply astonishing. But I say all that to say that there's definitely been smoke around this organization before. So, it'll definitely be an uphill case. But
what's your sense, though, of how, because I don't have this sense of how this has been covered. Has it been covered by ABC, NBC? CNN?
I mean, CBS once, ABC once yesterday. They called it a prominent civil rights organization, one of the most prominent in the country, was the phraseology of Robin Roberts and Aaron Katursky there, saying that the DOJ is targeting them. But otherwise, elsewhere, it's been kind of moot, kind of quiet. CNN and MS Now have definitely done the normal hand-wringing. MS Now primetime last night was definitely beside itself. The AP has a story out saying it's a political weapon.
Well, of course, because here's why. Let me explain that, and you know this. The AP does that because the AP considers the Southern Poverty Law Center one of their, chief sources when it comes to hate crimes. So the AP in their style book, and this is one of the things that I remember from the 80s, because it used to be that group that you would always cite, and you would say, this is what the Southern Poverty Law Center says. But then they got into this, hate map thing. And if you pass a law in Missouri that dares to say, for example, that women and men should be in separate bathrooms, I'm just using that as an example, this group comes in and says, you shouldn't travel to Missouri because it's a bunch of hateful Republicans. Don't do that.
Right. Family Research Council shooting, maybe about 10, 15 years ago, the failed massacre there. The shooter said that they consulted the hate map and saw the Family Research Council there in downtown Washington.
I'd forgotten about that. That's interesting for sure. All right, Curtis Houck, great to have you on. I hope you're having a good week. Let me thank you for allowing me to take some of my anger out on you. That's always helpful.
No problem. Always willing to chat, my friend.
All right, we'll see you. Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
So you're slow southbound on 270 from Page down to 44. Your northbound side, Manchester to 64. 170 southbound from Forest Park Parkway down to 64. Heavy northbound from 70 to 270. Westbound on 70. Slow spots from 367 to Lindbergh, then through O'Fallon and approaching 64. Eastbound side, very heavy Cape Springs to First to Capitol. That's because of a crash in the right lane. 64 westbound, slow Kings Highway all the way to 270, then through Chesterfield before 364 to 70. And eastbound, slow spots, Mason all the way over to Big Bend. I'm Trent Erickson at 523 on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
We all know spring weather means spring storms. Mark Cox here for Hanson's Tree Service. Now's the time to remove any dead or hazardous trees over your home before the spring storms bring them down. It's a great time to have an arborist come out and put together a plant health care program for your trees and shrubs. You can also order mulch and compost directly from the website and have it delivered to your driveway. Just go to hansonstree.com. Again, that's hansonstree.com.
I want to talk about Master Cars, Inc. They are a great car dealership, but it's used cars with new car caliber. Now, they've been the Corvette kings in St. Louis for a long, long time. They specialize in Corvettes and a lot of really, really cool cars. They have cars on the lot right now that may stun you. They're really, really cool. They have classic cars like a 61 Chevy Impala SS Bubble Top 409, which is really, really cool. But the other way you can use Master Cars, Inc., you can go right there, right now on the website, mastercarsinc.com. Click on inventory, and they'll show you some of the inventory they sold. You can look for a vehicle in particular. You can fill out something and say, hey, I'm looking for this specific make, model, color with this many miles. Can you find it? Can you get it here to St. Louis? In all likelihood, they could. And they're going to give you good advice, too. I've actually sat in the office with Alex Rosenberger when he's on one of these auctions, and he's kind of looking for a sweet spot in order to get a car for a customer. Sometimes, and they know what they're doing, they're going to say, look, it's not worth going this high for this vehicle. They'll give you great advice. And I feel, because I've known him for a decade now, that you'll have a car expert, Gary and Alex, father and son team, in your corner, maybe for the rest of your life. So check out Master Cars, Inc. They'll buy your car, too, if it's in great shape. We've sold a couple to them. MasterCarsInc.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Oh, man. How happy do you have to be to not live in California? By the way, it's funny for people here to even, I think, to complain about the gas tax when you look at what's happening in other states like California, the tax burden. Here in Missouri, we're trying to reduce the tax burden. And then someone says, well, the gas tax has gone up. Yeah, well, the gas tax is paid by other people, okay, not only Missourians. That's why I support it. And I supported an increase because we had one of the lowest in the nation. And there was a case that would be made, well, let's use general revenue funds for the roads. Well, those are going to be gone now, so we don't have that. But the gas tax, people in Illinois and Arkansas, in other states that actually come through Missouri, they pay that tax, which is why I support it. I wish we'd have a toll road between here and Kansas City, and then you can make a choice because they were talking about different lanes divided. That would have been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Have a choice for people. You want to go in the slower lanes, don't pay the toll. You want to go in the speed lanes, you pay the toll. We couldn't do that. Couldn't get it done. But in California, no doubt they're going to elect a nut job to be the next governor. Probably Katie Porter or Tom Steyer, but Steve Hilton's still in this race. He's actually polling very well. They had a debate last night with all these candidates.
What grade would you give him on homelessness, and what, if anything, would you do differently? You have 60 seconds.
I'm a notoriously tough grader, but I would probably give him a B on homelessness.
Wow, by the way, I'd love to be in your class, Katie, if you get a B for what Gavin Newsom's done on homelessness. My goodness, of course it's an F.
Yeah, I think it's an F. Steve Hilton got it right there. They're talking about Gavin Newsom. Katie Porter, who is a former congresswoman, and she's just revolting. I kind of hope she wins just because she is revolting, and it would give me someone else to kind of poke fun at nationally. She'd definitely be worse than Newsom. There's no doubt about that. But she's got these stories out there about how she treated her staff, and she was mean to her staff, so they asked her about it.
What would you tell your own kids if they ever faced a boss like that? You have 60 seconds.
I apologized that day to that staffer 4 years ago. And I took responsibility then, and I have taken responsibility since, acknowledging that it was not the right way to treat someone. And that is a big contrast to what we have seen other candidates do when they have been called out for misconduct.
The problem is she doesn't just have like one conduct issue. There's her HR files like mine. It's relatively thick. And then there's Tom Steyer, who people in California, I had John Ziegler tell me this last week, they think he would be far, far worse than Newsom.
Racial profiling is illegal. And in fact, picking on people based on the color of their skin in the state of California is illegal.
Okay, I'm not sure what that question was about, but Steyer is someone who is apparently seen as maybe one of the potential victors out there in California. That primary coming up here, the election in June.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, things are slow going if you're on 270 southbound from Page to 44, northbound Manchester to past 64, and 170 southbound Olive to 64, northbound side heavy from 70 to 270, 70 westbound, slow spots from 367 to Lindbergh, then through O'Fallon and 8 to 64, eastbound side heavy from Cave Springs over to First Capital with a crash in the lane. I'm Trent Erickson at 529 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let me guide you into some great legal help, and that's the law firm of Susan L. Ward, LLC. They are family law attorneys, so it's divorce and things that happen in the aftermath of divorce. Can't tell you how, I've talked about my anger a little bit on the show today. These things happen, but man, when I was going through divorce, I was really angry. And one of the reasons was I didn't really have a full understanding of the process. And that was because I had a lawyer that wasn't very experienced, and I wasn't getting good advice. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. You should not make the same mistake. Susan is exactly the opposite, and her team at the law offices of Susan L. Ward, LLC. They have a ton of experience. They've been doing this for 2.5+ decades. They offer a full range of legal services related to divorce and marital dissolution. They can help you with issues related to children. Susan's got some great blog posts up there on her website if you just want to check her out. She would also give you advice. How do you pick a lawyer? Well, call them, get in touch, and then do an interview. Make sure that you're comfortable with the lawyer that you're going to hire. And I think if you meet Susan, you sit down with one of her team members, you're going to have a great feeling. They have a beautiful office in De Pere at Manchester and 270. And again, the website is where you can get a hold of her. There's a confidential consultation form, or you can call 314-783-9400. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward, STLFamilyLaw.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Troy, Missouri to Troy, Illinois. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, we have a Reardon Roundtable coming up tomorrow. Should be a good one. Former State Senator Jeff Smith will be here. The mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower, also in the 4 o'clock hour. Sue's not here, so we'll have Ethan do Sue's News. Paul Hall will have some entertainment recommendations. I'm very interested in the the Michael Jackson movie, and I'm hearing good things about it. He will have seen it. He'll report back on that. I'm all caught up on Your Friends and Neighbors. I think the 5th episode of that will come out either tonight or tomorrow. That's the John Hamm show. James Marsden added to the cast. You know, I've said this before. Sophomore seasons are really, really tough. And the first season of that, I think, was my favorite show all of last year. The second season, it's keeping me watching, but there's some edges that they have to rough out, and we'll see if they can do that. But Paul will have recommendations on streaming as well. We'll have Kevin Abing on the show in the 5 o'clock hour. Kevin has written a book about the Cardinals winning the World Series in 1926, 100 years ago, and it's called Baseball Magic and Mayhem, and he'll join me in the 5 o'clock hour. So that's all coming up tomorrow, and then Sue's going to be back on Wednesday. She's off for a few days. Stuart Rosenblum is with me in the studio this afternoon. Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage Corporation. We're going to talk about the situation with rates and where we are economically when it relates to refinancing or home buying. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Get real close to that microphone for me, just so
go.
we can hear. They like to say, kiss the microphone, just like you're doing some singing. So, by the way, when we talked the other day, you said, because there's a little lull in the action right now with this ceasefire, but that's a good thing when it comes to rates, right?
Right. Rates are very sensitive to what's going on, and specifically how it relates to inflation. So if the oil prices start spiking, there's more activity in the Middle East, all of a sudden rates start going up. If there's a calmness and a little bit of a lull, you see those drops. And it's important to take advantage when those drops happen because you can miss the ball.
Is there an easy way, because this gets complicated, is there an easy way to explain how that adjustment happens, or is there a Wizard of Oz that's pressing a number on the rates, or how does that all work?
It's a very knee-jerk reaction. So obviously, one of the main mandates of the Federal Reserve is to keep inflation down. Okay, well, oil prices going up obviously causes prices overall to go up, which leaves less incentive for the Federal Reserve to go out and lower interest rates on a long-term basis.
Right, that makes
sense.
Up.
All of a sudden, things are coming down. There's a potential in the future that the strait will open up, oil will still start to flow, prices will start to drop. That's easing inflation, more of a chance that the Federal Reserve will go ahead and cut those interest rates on a long-term basis. There is no magic button that you can look at. You could look at the 10-year treasuries. That's usually an indication of what's going on in the market as a whole. But right now, just plain simple, matter of fact, hey, they're talking peace. Rates go down, opportunity. Peace talks are going to end. Boom.
It happens quickly, right?
Rates go up and down like a yo-yo.
Well, and that's kind of like the stock market, what we're seeing there, and even the price of oil right now. It's fluctuating pretty quickly back and forth.
Right. And we have a lot of customers that actually apply with us. They don't lock the rate, and they say to us, when it hits this number, lock it. So often we monitor for our customers, and when the opportunity comes, we do it for you, and we just lock it.
So where are we right now? Can you give us the range and
my
maybe
gosh.
an assessment of where we are on April 22nd or whatever the hell the date is?
That's a loaded question because different people get
23rd. I got the date wrong. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's right. Different people get different interest rates. Different products have different interest rates. This is really a confusing factor because people call around all the time. They ask mortgage companies, okay, I got a mortgage. What's the rate? Your income will impact the rate. Whether you get an FHA loan or a conventional loan will impact the rate. How much you borrow versus the percentage of the value of the property will affect the rate. How much are you paying in closing costs will affect the rate. There is no simple answer today as to what the rate is. Most people, if you want the quick answer, what you should be doing is calling lenders and saying, what is the APR?
Right.
What is the annual percentage rate? Here's my circumstance. What's the APR? 90% of lenders can't give you a straight answer with that, which is a big problem.
And why is that?
Because they don't know how to compute it. They just look, this is what the note rate is. They can't factor in the APR. APR is the annual percentage rate. You see it on your credit card bills. You see it on your car loans. Nobody really can define what it is, so I'll tell you what it is. That's your true cost of money. If you take in any cost on a transaction, processing fee, underwriting fees, pizza delivery fee, whatever you want to call it, and you factor it in as if it's interest, that's your true cost of money. So if you go out and you want to refinance and you're at, say, 6 3/4, and you're getting a 6% interest rate, but the APR is actually 6 3/4, you're not saving anything.
Yeah, right.
So often people look at that. Another example is an FHA loan. The government with FHA is going to charge you 1 3/4% as a fee, and regardless of the percentage of the value of the property that you're borrowing, you're going to pay that nasty thing called PMI.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we were talking about this in the office last week. I've been a homeowner since I was probably 28, 29 years old, right? And until this house, I've always paid PMI. It was just like one of those nagging things that was always there. And it's a significant number in many cases to the mortgage, right?
It is.
So explain that in how that works with FHA versus conventional.
Okay, first of all, with FHA, if you borrow more than 90% of the value of the property, the PMI never goes away, ever. Now,
Never goes away?
Never goes
Wow.
away. Stays on there
See, I
forever.
didn't know that.
In addition, the government today charges 1.75% as a fee on top of it. So the rate is typically a little bit better, but your payment is actually much, much higher.
Because of the fee.
Right.
And the PMI.
That's right.
Right.
Now, with a conventional loan, the amount of money you pay for PMI varies based on your credit score and something called your debt-to-income ratio, which is the amount of debt you have versus your income. The amount you borrow will also affect it. All these things will kind of play in what you pay in PMI on a conventional loan. With FHA, whether you have a 600 credit score or a 780 credit score, the PMI is the same. So if you have a great credit score, don't go FHA. I don't care if the lender says it's lower down payment, which is often not true. Do never, ever go FHA if you have a high credit score. If you have a low credit score, say 620, you want to go FHA if you're putting down very little money because the PMI you're going to pay is 1/3 or even a quarter what it would be on a conventional loan. So the down payments often are very similar. What the people get hooked on and what lenders try to push is that FHA has a lower quote-unquote interest rate. But when you look at the actual payment, you're actually paying more with the FHA than you would be on a conventional if you qualify for a better deal on the conventional side.
And this is why it's so important to have these conversations because most people, and even someone like me who's been a homeowner for a long, long time, we don't really understand this stuff, right? I'm sure you have people that come to you and they are just lost on a lot of this stuff. And when you hear an explanation like that, then it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, most lenders, by the way, loan officers, they can't explain it to you. They just don't. They're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you in the payment. Most people are concerned about payment. They don't realize what the factors are that impact that payment. And they say, okay, I can afford $2,000 a month. Great. They don't realize they can get $1,700 a month. They don't realize they can get a better this, a better that. So they dance around, hey, I got a lower interest rate FHA, and this is my payment. But in truth, the higher interest rate with the conventional loan versus the FHA is an actual lower payment because the PMI is much, much, much less or non-existent.
So Stuart Rosenblum is here from Stuart's American Mortgage. What are people basically coming to you for these days? Is it because of cash flow and they're trying to tap equity and pay down some debt, et cetera?
Well, for refinancing, that's a clear answer. So if you're in a position, if you're paying in the upper sixes, you have a balance of $300,000 on your mortgage, you ought to refinance right now. Get a lower payment. Bagel loan we have, no closing costs at all. It's a no-brainer, simple thing to do. A lot of people go with their credit cards and say, hey, I'm strapped for cash. My cash flow is terrible. I want to refinance. I want to get in a better position. You can consolidate the debt, put yourself in a better position. 6 months from now, your credit score is going to be higher. Now you've got so much debt, it's lower. You'll be in a better place 6 to 12 months down the road. You can set yourself up beautifully. On the purchase side, I think the biggest factor we have right now, especially in St. Louis, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, is there is fierce competition across the board. This is the 6th highest market or hottest market in the country, and there's fierce competition for homes. And the biggest question I get today right now is, hey, I want to buy this house for $400,000. This seller does not want to accept a contingency on the sale of my old house. What do I do? So people dabble with something called a bridge loan. A bridge loan is a terrible product to get. Why? You're paying a lot in fees. You pay discount points, origination fees. The rate you're getting is an adjustable rate mortgage. It's not even a fixed rate. So while you have both houses, you're just paying interest only and you're just paying a higher rate, and you're paying fees and you're getting over it. The problem is when you sell your house and you pay down that bridge loan, you don't know what your end rate's going to be because you're going to get the rate of whatever it is after the fact, 2 months down the road.
Right.
So it's a bad deal to go. The better thing to do is as follows. Put down the minimum amount or whatever you can put down on the house you're going to buy. So say you have a $300,000 house, you want to buy a $400,000 house. The minimum requirement is probably going to be 5%. You got to come up with $20,000. Let's say with your taxes, insurance, and you need another $5,000, $25,000. You don't have the money, borrow from 401k, get a gift, see what you can put together, put down the 5%. Then later on, after you sell your house, you can take the proceeds from that sale, put it against the balance on the mortgage. If you're paying PMI and you're now under 80% of what you bought it for, they'll drop the PMI and give you a new payment based on the lower balance without going through the refinance process. It's called a recast. This way, you get the bagel loan with no closing costs. You get a fixed rate, so you know what your end payment's going to be after you sell the old house. You don't have to worry about all these extra fees. You don't have to worry about fluctuations. You know where you're going. You know how it's going to work out at the end of the day. Now, with this situation, if you end up selling your house, say 4 or 5 months down the road, if rates are lower, you can take the money, put it against the loan, and we'll refinance you for free at the lower rate. You don't go through the recast. If you sell it 2 weeks after you buy the new house, you go through the recast, and later on we'll refinance you for free. That's the smartest, easiest way to do it. Don't do the bridge. It's called the recast. People don't think about it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even heard that before.
Yeah. Now you can make an offer in the house, not contingent on the sale of your other one. The seller is going to take your offer because they know that the deal's in the bag, per se. And you can always do that recast later on. It's a great way of doing it. People don't realize it. We've had numerous contracts accepted this way, and they call me after they sell their house. What should we do? We put the money against the house. 60 days later, they got their new payment. They knew the interest rate. Big bang boom, they got their house.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's very unique because, again, I don't think I've even heard you talking about that. So I'm glad that we covered that. We give people your cell phone number, so give that out here tonight so people have it if they want to get a hold of you. That's one of the things. Look, I opened my entire show today. I was on hold for probably 20 minutes, and then the call overall with U.S. Bank earlier today, I think, was 40 minutes, just getting from operator to operator, and then I had to get a supervisor. It was so aggravating. That's not going to happen with you, is it?
No, I mean, this is a really big deal. You know, I call a charter, I call these places. Sometimes I get a place in the Philippines. Sometimes I get
exactly. That's what I was talking about. Yes,
against them, but they're reading from a script.
Exactly.
They're not really giving me personal attention that I'm used to. We have old-time American philosophy, okay? I'm going to give you my cell phone number, which is 314-324-4440. You can call me on the weekends. You can call me evenings. We're here for you. That your home is the biggest investment you're going to make in your life. You need somebody you have access to when you need them, not necessarily when they're available. So I give my personal cell phone number. I answer it all the time. It's the only cell I carry. And on the flip side, if you can't remember the phone number, just Google Bagel
Google
Loan.
the Bagel Loan. That's what we tell
you'll
people,
be able
right?
to go directly to our website. My wife always complains to me all the time. She tries to call me, and I don't answer the phone because I'm always on the phone. So my daughter figured out she calls up as private caller. I may answer. So this is the little thing that's going on lately.
That's pretty funny.
But that's the way it is. So the cell phone's there. You have full access. You get the Bagel Loan, no closing costs. We can close in 10 days. You get the best interest rate.
Why can you close in 10 days? Some people might say, wait, come on, Stewie, 10 days.
We actually got a contract accepted recently that we were the third highest bid with all the offers that were presented. Over 30 offers were presented. They were number 3. They took our offer because every other lender takes 3 to 4 weeks to get the job done. We said, hey, we don't have to wait 3 to 4 weeks. We can get you closed A through Z in the house in 10 days. The seller said, look, I'd rather take a bird versus the bush.
Right.
Okay, burn the bush. So what he did was he accepted and he said, you know what, if it doesn't close in 10 days, I still have the time to list it. It's still a hot time for me to sell. So if it doesn't work out, I can always relist it. But if you go to other places, they're going to say 30 days.
Why can you do that and they can't?
Efficiency technology. We've been working on this for almost 30 years, and we developed a system that allows us to do so. And it's just technology. Believe it or not, we got AI involved.
I believe it.
With
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
intricate, our technology internally. It doesn't go into your personal stuff or anything like that, but it allows us to do it much quicker. At the end of the day, you get your house. I mean, when you do an application with us, it takes 5 minutes. You're pre-approved, 3 minutes. When you get a contract, we need 5 pieces of paper from you. You e-sign the documents. On a refinance, we send a notary out to your house after hours on the weekend. You don't have to go to the title company. On a purchase, we actually have you e-sign the closing documents, most of them, before you even get to the title company. It takes you 5 minutes. You get to the title company, there's 8 documents to sign, and you're done.
Yeah, that's a lot different than it used to be. These things used to be really, really complicated and stressful and, took a long time.
It still is.
Yeah.
It still is. If you talk to people that deal with other institutions and banks, it's a long process. There was a deal we had with a big national bank that we were competing at. They applied with them. 2 days before closing, they decided they can't do the loan. They came to us. We closed in 9 days. 3 weeks later, that bank called back the customer and said, hey, we figured out how to do it. So it was a month after we closed, and the customer's like, hey,
Too late.
I'm ready to close.
I
Too
moved
late.
on, right. All right, Stuart, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Google the Bagel Loan, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for all the support.
Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate it.
from the 97.1 FM Talk.
Man, I'm telling you what, I'm having one of those days, and this happened to me last week. I don't know what I did there. I pressed a button that I wasn't supposed to. I apologize for that. Trent, I'm just going to hand it off to you. I think that Ethan's going to make things all better for me, and we'll do traffic right now, so I apologize for that. Here's the music. Here we go. Now, go ahead, Trent. I screwed it up again. Ethan, I'm sorry. Trent, are you there? See, he's not there because he doesn't hear the music, is probably what's going on. So let me see if this works. This is professional radio. All right, there we go. Trent, are you there? So it didn't even really matter, Ethan, that I hit the traffic center because he's not there anyway. That makes me feel real good about how we're closing out the show this afternoon. Audio cut of the day is coming up next.
Just a reminder to have your air conditioner checked for the summer so you don't have a mishap and it goes down in the hottest day of the year. But it's always best to have it done. Call us and we'll be more than happy to come out there and check it for you. And like always, if you're having your furnace checked by another company and you are told that this is the year you need to replace it, call me for a second opinion. The 0% interest is still available on most brands. Save your cash and keep your credit cards open and away from those high rates. Call me. You'll be glad you did. Bart Inman, one easy number in Missouri and Illinois. The easiest. It is 314-293-2600 or on the website bartinman.com. Now that's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Take your lawn from good to great with my friends at Lawn Enforcement. I'm talking expert lawn care services to keep your lawn in order. And here's what they'll do for you. Anybody can mow your grass. At Lawn Enforcement, they want to enhance your property. They'll do the mowing and the trimming. They'll fertilize and implement a weed control program and erosion control, which includes retaining walls if you need it. They can landscape. They can design and install your flowers, your shrubs, your trees, all of your hardscapes. No project is too big or too small for my friends at Lawn Enforcement. You can check them out online at yourlawnenforcement.com. So instead of envying your neighbor's lawn, your neighbors are going to be wishing they had the lawn and landscape that you have. Go ahead and enjoy your space. Be proud when you entertain your friends and your family. They've been in business for over 30 years. Be sure and tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to yourlawnenforcement.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
No, there was a story that I haven't covered yet today, right before audio cut of the day. I wish Sue was here to react to this because I know that she would roll her eyes, and you tell me if you don't have the same reaction here. This is in our local paper here this afternoon at STL Today. Years into a scheme that had netted him some $250,000 in taxpayer money, Dan Polino, who served as Velda City's former police chief and city administrator, knew investigators were closing in. I love this because Velda City is one of those cities that shouldn't be a city. We have all these little communities.
I've never even heard of it.
No, dude, like I've lived in St. Louis longer than any place else in my life. So if I'm adding up
longer than I've been alive.
30 years,
Yes,
so more than half my life. And every week I discover a new place that I've never heard of in my life. That's how ridiculous it is. Velda City. It's where they like to give out a lot of the traffic tickets up on the Interbelt on 170. See, I can I can't even call it the Interbelt, can I? I have to call it 170. So anyway, he told Velda City's information technology contractor to wipe the city's files, federal prosecutors said in court Thursday. He even logged onto the treasurer's computer to delete emails himself. Then he unilaterally disbanded the tiny North St. Louis County Police Department that he had led for more than a decade and went to work as a police officer in neighboring Hillsdale, where the chief is one of his friends. But what they said is his attempts to conceal his crimes were revealed in court today, just before the former police chief and city administrator was sentenced to 27 months in federal prison for stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from Velda City. He's 52 years old. He pleaded guilty in November to wire fraud charges in connection with the theft. They say he wept as he and his attorneys asked the judge for probation rather than a prison sentence. Now, let me just tell you, this is apparently 27 months here is on the top edge of the, the spectrum here for sentencing. I think that should be the low end. So he stole $300,000. They say, his lawyers say that he returned $50,000. He had worked for them since 2007. I don't think 27 months in prison is nearly enough. The former treasurer, by the way, of Velda City, Vanita Sidodo, was sentenced to 40 months in prison because she stole $400,000. But good Lord, if that's the only sentence they could have given, I guess the judge has no, option there. But 27 months for $300,000, I'd say he would think it's worth it. He'll be sitting in a low, security prison for a couple years. He'll probably get out early, and he'll never see. The part of this is always hilarious too, is restitution. He's been ordered to pay back the money. Yeah, that ain't ever going to happen.
Stand by. Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
Oh, I have some choices here. I got a couple of choices, not exactly sure. How about our friend Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, because she is out there campaigning for Graham Plattner, a Democrat candidate in Maine, who has a Nazi tattoo and symbol. And the Democrats love him, and she's not distancing herself.
I did want to ask you, Senator Warren, about something else that happened last weekend, which is you campaigned with Graham Plattner, who is ahead of that state's very pivotal Democratic primary. And I wanted to ask you about something you said. You said he's your kind of man. And I've interviewed you for a long time and watched your hearings and listened to your questions. You care about character. This is a guy that had a chest tattoo with a Nazi symbol. Okay, he apologized for it. It's a guy that reportedly wrote that people concerned about rape should take some responsibility for themselves and not get so effed up that they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. He praised military tactics used by Hamas, reportedly, in comments online and Reddit when they were murdering Israeli soldiers. So I'm just curious why you think he's your kind of man.
So, as you rightly point out, he has apologized. He's out meeting with the people of Maine every single day.
Oh, my God. And by the way, here's what's interesting about that. That wasn't Fox. That was not a Fox interview. She wouldn't go on Fox anyway. That was CNBC. And that reporter actually did her job and asked some good questions. The second part of my cut of the day, I love this British singer-artist named Ray, R-A-Y-E. She's incredible. She was on Stephen Colbert a couple of nights ago, and this song did not make the cut. They sometimes put the extra song on YouTube, but she has a 34-piece band, strings, horns. Her sisters sing with her. This is a song called Joy from the new album. It's incredible. I'll go out with Ray. We'll talk tomorrow. A Reardon Roundtable at 3.
I declare and I decree, any chain that has been holding me, any evil tongue that whispers in my ear, I said I rebuke you, you must leave my life, you are not welcome here. Loose your grip and set me free. Heaven, hear me now, I want to be.
I want you to get into the chorus here a little. So I'm going to fast forward just a little here. Here we go. This is where it kicks in. Get the horns and the strings and the background singers. If you're a music fan and you want to listen to this, Google Ray Colbert and just watch this performance. She's unreal. She's on tour right now. She's going out with Bruno Mars in the rest of the year, so that's going to be a hell of a tour. Have a great night.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We just have some delays left over on 170 southbound from Forest Park Parkway to 64. On 64 westbound Slow Kings Highway over to Big Bend, then through Chesterfield, and 364 to 70. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, from windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Tron Erickson at 5:56 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's get into some new flooring because the team at Michaels can help you. They can guide you into great products that may be perfect for your lifestyle. And I can promise you this because I've done it. You can do it on a budget. And I didn't even think that was possible. You get into a flooring project, you think, oh, man, this is going to be a big project. It could be. You can go crazy. You want to put something really fancy in your home. They're going to let you do it. But look, what I needed to do is just take some carpet out of a couple of rooms, replace it with some vinyl flooring that looks like wood, and they knocked it out of the park. I even took the carpeting out myself. So if you're looking for new flooring, whether it's hard flooring, beautiful silky soft carpeting from Mohawk, check out Michael's Flooring Outlet with 3 awesome locations stuffed with all kinds of products for you, and also a team of staff members that have a ton of experience. I mean, they absolutely know what they're doing. It's not like walking into a big box store dealing with someone that you don't know. IGotFloored.com is the website. They're in Old Town St. Peters, in Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. They'd love to see you in person or just visit that website. They're closed on Sundays, open every other day. IGotFloored.com, Michael's Flooring Outlet.
You know the rush when you reach that goal, when something you've worked for pays off. That's success. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we believe you should never stop chasing it.